Hello. How are you guys today? Happy Monday, everybody. I hope your day's going good so far. Oh shit, where's my phone? I must have left my phone in the house. I'll go find that. We're going to do a little backstory before we get into the heavier stuff this week of trying to break this all apart. But there was something that kind of has been a little unsettling to me. So I want to run it by you guys and see what your opinion on this matter is. Timelines are very interesting in this situation. So let's go ahead and get into it. How are all of you guys? What y'all doing? Hey, Pika, Rubber, Rhonda, Sassy, Zoya, S, The Real Kells, We Gob Cheat, Miss Brit, Liberty, Farmer, DeJennifer, Starlight, Sin, Sherry, JC, hello from America. Hey, Mrs. O, Sherry, Marcy, Stella, Teresa. This is a mess. Just straight up a complete shit show. And it's only going to get worse. I don't understand why. Well, I do. I get it. I get why she's doing what she's doing a little bit. Alicia, hello. Hey, Nikki. Hey, Lorraine. Do I care if you put me on your iPad? Miss Britt, I would never even have a clue. Hey, Tracy, thank you for being a member for 20 months. Messy. Amy, I understand that. And I understand that a lot of people are like, why are you covering this? This is exactly the shit I cover. This is the type of shit that these creators are doing to harm victims and true justice for victims. They always have a way of becoming the victims and overstepping when they get attached to these stories. This is why I don't like true crime. This is why I don't like this genre. This is why I'm not a true crime creator. This right here, this is what I do. I mean, this is what I've been doing all along. So this is like, why wouldn't I cover it? But people have been asking me, why are you covering that? Why wouldn't I? She is at this rate the exact same as BJ, just polished and very skilled, if you ask me. Hey, Angie. Hey, Hannah. So I appreciate you guys understanding why I am covering it and why I'm interested in it. Hey, Coco. Plus, it's got a lot of the things I like involved. Again, the religion aspect of it is very interesting to me, and that's what we're going to kind of talk about today a little bit. What happened, Chico? Why'd they get your ass? What do you mean? Hey, Grandma Cece. Well, there's that. Lindsay. It's not JC. It's really not. Hey, Pointer Lover. Hey, Postcards. Okay, let's go. So I want to talk about, before we open up, let's talk about timeline a little bit here, which is, we're going to break it down even further throughout this. Oh, jury duty. Gotcha. I was like, I've been running around all morning, so I am behind. I was listening to Jay. I was running errands. So yeah, I wouldn't say I'm disappointed. I'm not even shocked anymore. Honestly, I'm not shocked by any of these people, but I'm not a true crime connoisseur like a lot of you are in that capacity. I like some true crime, but I stick to more like the cold cases, the documentaries and stuff like that. I don't like the ongoing stuff like these people do. It's just kind of ugh to me. So I don't know. It's weird. Okay. First and foremost, so this whole thing kind of starts in June. Granted, there's a whole lot of fluff that she provides, but June is kind of the main piece of this. So June 9th, 2025, and granted, we're bypassing all of this junk and filler. We'll get into that later this week. But July 9th is where this really amps up. But where does it amp up from? Well, it looks like it's Lauren. June 9th, the Proton email that you see on your screen was sent out. It is from If You Only Knew 111. Oh, how creative. The truth will come out. Hidden true crime, more like hidden true lies. All of it will come to light. Your trash talking of Kay Woodcock and Heather Daybell and Gigi and Justin Lum and Nate Eaton and Ashley Banfield, Susan Hendricks, Rob Wood, Rachel Smith, Ray, and on and on and on. All of them are CC'd on this email, and your text messages will prove it. Okay. So that email went out June 9th. All right. Here we go. And most of you would say, okay, and what? What now? Like, is that all we got? Oh, no. Because then Lauren talks about how her phone went silent. Nobody was calling. Nobody was texting. Nobody was filling in any more of the information that she wanted to know. What were they going to expose? So on June 19th, they reach out to a creator.
Would film me for no other reason than to harass me and intimidate me. And then on June 19th, I spoke to someone, by the way, who was who is a creator,
a YouTube creator,
who told me to brace myself.
Oh, brace yourself.
And that things were going to go public.
Oh, no.
She didn't willingly give up any other information other than that people wanted Lauren's head on a platter.
Oh.
I immediately informed Lauren what was going on, and I made the decision.
This is Grayson. Grayson spoke to a creator and then informed Lauren of the supposed people wanting her head on a platter.
To call police.
It was not disclosed who the creator was that Grayson spoke to,
as I was worried for our safety, and we'll get more to that later.
So she calls the police on June 19th to report this.
A lot more's coming, guys. Sorry for those of you that's late. Stay with me.
Yeah, there wasn't much more to come. But something that stands out to me in all of this,
as I always say, shortly after the stalker started the TikTok and Instagram accounts, the stalker continued to target Lauren, John, and anyone who is friends with or works with them on the regular with her posts.
Her TikTok posts. Okay, so we basically have beat him. Yes, it was. It was extremely embarrassing. Thank you for being a member for 24 months. It was extremely embarrassing. I agree with you on that. So the main things are June 9th, the Proton email goes out. June 19th, they reach out and start asking people because nobody's talking to her. Her phone is silent. Nobody's coming to her to tell her what's going on. These accounts start posting in June and July about her. She's starting to have a panic, even though they had under 300 subs. No big deal. But what really comes interesting to me is she goes on Mormon Stories podcast through the middle of all of this. Now, I don't know. The one thing I do not know is how long in advance this was scheduled. It doesn't sound like it was scheduled very far in advance. It sounded like it had been an open-ended invitation. But there's some interesting pieces of this. So let's listen to this and then we'll get into it.
Be coming on later. Not tonight. Don't worry. Too much to go through. Another time. On July 14th, so that is my husband's birthday and our anniversary. And on July 14th, 2025, I was on an episode of the Mormon Stories podcast with John Dehlin and Mindy Caldwell. I still want to thank them for having me on. And if any of you actually would like to go watch that,
we will be.
And support me and them because he has helped me.
I actually really like John Dehlin. That I do.
I just want to say this so much through this as a friend and as someone who has also been through this himself. I want to thank the Mormon Stories community.
The Mormon Stories community, who has got LDS and ex-Mormons who are really interested in the cases that Lauren covered. Okay.
And
to me, this says trying to keep her foothold into her LDS connections and with the ex-Mormon community.
And, go support him in Mormon Stories and me by watching my podcast. But on the Mormon Stories podcast,
thank you so much, In the Pines, for the 5 gifted memberships. Welcome to the cabana. Thank you. Hey, everybody popping in. Thanks for joining me.
My stalker, when I appeared on July 14th, wrote in the comments with eye emojis.
Yeah, not the dreadful eye emojis. Now, these were pre-recorded videos. They were not even, it was a premiere, but it wasn't a live stream. These are pre-recorded and then they drop them as premieres.
In an effort to let people know she was watching. And this occurred after she did a TikTok. So I announced that I was going to be on Mormon Stories. And she did a TikTok about that. If you don't have it, it's okay. Oh, you do have it. Okay, because I can explain it too. Claiming that it was like a PR move because of something that I've done. That was
I actually kind of agree with the PR move
coming out. Like I said, I still don't know what I've done, minus people trying to claim I was hurting people's businesses, which simply isn't true. And reading private texts of mine that allegedly they don't like, and I haven't seen them. But so it says, someone sent me a screenshot that my ex-friend is about to attempt some damage control, and I'm giddy. I can't wait to see how she tries to spin this. So, she's talking about my Mormon Stories podcast with John Dehlin and Mindy Caldwell. Very confusing because, you think that I'm going to spin my life.
Yeah, I do. I think it was an attempt to control the public perception and have some what you thought was, or you term as raw, real emotion. But I think there's more to it.
Life is my life. I tell my entire honest, vulnerable life story on the Mormon Stories podcast. If you guys want to know anything about me, my life story is all there.
Yep, it sure is. And we're going to talk about it.
2 parts. It's hours. I tell it all. And I haven't known this stalker very long at all. She doesn't know me very well at all, really.
Well, and I won't be calling Christina a stalker because there is nothing that proves that she is a stalker. So that is actually what we are going to do. She has directed us right to where to go. And I actually did. Tracy, you've criticized every move that Lauren has done. Actually, no, I haven't. I've criticized her 9 hours that she put out here. Why wouldn't I criticize this? Why wouldn't? Tracy, here's the thing. You might have missed this over the time that you followed me. Why wouldn't I be interested in the actual truth? Why wouldn't you be interested in the actual truth? Why would you be okay with a true crime creator with the reach that she has, over 300,000 subs, coming out here and calling someone a stalker, that there is no proof that they have stalked her in any way, shape, or form, put her family in danger or anything else? Why would we sit by and let our courthouses be weaponized over some hurt fifis? Why are we attempting to normalize this, Tracy? Why shouldn't they be criticized? Why is she immune from criticizing of her own behavior that she is putting out here publicly when she does it to families and victims going through their worst time? I don't understand that whole mindset, and this is maybe where you need to check out of this story, whatever helps you, but I'm going to criticize it, and I'm going to be harsh as fuck. You know why? Because they do this to victims and their families going through the worst time, and they profit off of those stories. She deserves to be criticized because she's manipulative. She's a limited public figure. You don't get to come out here and ruin people's lives with horrible allegations because somebody hurt your feelings, because you're a shitty human and people were going to bust that out. Okay. So, and again, please go watch something else. I'm not forcing anybody to be here, but I'm also not going to. This is what happens every time I start covering a new thing. Everybody has this emotional investment to these people. These are strangers on the internet. None of you know them. You might be fans. She calls you fans. I was a fan of listening to her a couple times too. But that's where it stops. She is just like the rest of us. She is open for criticism when she came out here and made horrible allegations, continues to make them, and show no proof. She is using a public smear campaign. Well, she calls it a whisper campaign against her. She got a freaking heckling campaign going against these other people. It's not. Okay, I don't even know who Annie Cushings is. My expert opinion? Are you being facetious, Tracy? Because I'm an expert asshole, as you know. Okay, let's go. So now we're going to go over to John DeLynn. So the interesting thing to note in this is July 14th. July 14th is when she does the Mormon Stories podcast. I don't know when it was scheduled. That is one thing that is unclear of when she actually scheduled this. But it sounds like it was kind of an open invitation that she just threw in there. So this happens. Well, actually, the escalation, the Proton email goes out. She received word that things were going to get amped up on June 19th. July 7th was the TikTok of the brother, that shit that got released. Christina posts something on July 12th with Lauren's voice in it. The 14th is the Mormon Stories podcast. July 16th, she shows an email to John DeLynn, which I'll show you right quick. She shows that John was sent an email right here after the first episode had posted or dropped. So this says, actually, this is July 17th is the date, but the first one is from Felicia O'Shields. This is where it says all of the stuff that they're reaching out. Good morning, John. I can understand where you're coming from. Lauren's name is not mentioned. There's a reason for this. There are many in the true crime community that know without a doubt that she is speaking of Lauren. The creator is being petty intentionally. Keep watching her. She is going to continue to share more and more, so much more. Again, reach out to other true crime YouTube content creators that have had interactions with Lauren. Reach out to journalists that have been in the face of cases that Lauren has worked on. Lori Vallow Daybell case, Delphi case, victims of cases. Get the information that you're looking for straight from those that Lauren has attempted to hurt or has hurt. I wasn't going to name names, but I am being told to tell you to reach out to Nate Eaton of East Idaho News. I will leave you with this. Ask Lauren to her face how well she knows her assistant cameraman on her video of the phone pings in Yellowstone for the LVD case. Again, petty stuff, petty back and forth. But this is where it gets really intriguing to me. This is Lauren's episode 1. So this is about a week before the Boise interaction, the Brian Kohberger, which was July 23rd. She goes to the BK Brian Kohberger sentencing in Boise, where she has the interactions with the other people. Christina is not there, but that's when they videotape. That's when she does the police escort across the street. And then we go into August. She claims that on August 6th, things got really serious because of TikToks that were being posted and comments that were being made. All right. I want to know what you guys think about this.
The Mormon woman become a true crime superstar. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mormon Stories Podcast. I'm your host, John DeLynn. It is July 2nd, and today we're so excited. I've been waiting for years for this interview, but we have with us in studio.
And again, I think it was like an open invitation. I really like John DeLynn. I do. John DeLynn has worked a lot with people that I really like from the Exmo world, such as Lynn Packer. Lynn is my ultimate favorite in the ex-Mormon as far as reporters. Doesn't really get involved in all of this shit or do the things that these people do.
Video back for those.
But I do like John a lot.
Familiar with Mormon Stories. We have the Lauren Matthias to tell us her epic story of how she went again from a young woman raised Mormon to the super popular, world-renowned Hidden True Crime podcast with her husband, Dr. John. And Lauren, we're so happy to have you.
I'm happy to be here. Nervous, but happy.
What do you think, Mindy's superstar, true crime superstar? Is
Absolutely. Great description.
And if y'all don't know.
So we know that she, at this point in time, when she is filming this, she is scared shitless because there's rumors going around. A Proton email had dropped. She's hearing from other creators that something's about to go viral. I do believe that this is likely a PR stunt. I do believe, and you'll hear why I think that.
We also have back with us in studio, part of our dream team, we have Mindy Caldwell back as.
Then after this appearance and it gets dropped, then the Boise police call, then end of August, she does this petition for the injunction right before CrimeCon. I don't know. It seems all too convenient in a real short time span.
My co-host for today. Hey, Mindy.
Hi. So happy to be here.
Yeah, I think us combined with Megan are maybe best known in the Mormon Stories family for our coverage of Visions of Glory, Chad Daybell, Lori Vallow, Jody Hildebrandt, Ruby Franke. We've covered a lot of those stories, which you've also covered on Hidden True Crime Podcast. But
what are you saying about July 2nd, Lindsay? What are you talking about from July 2nd? What did I miss on July 2nd? July 9th is the Proton email. July 19th or June 19th. June 9th is the Proton email. June 19th was the conversation that Grayson had with this content creator that really started to panic her when she called the police in her area in Nevada and made that police report. Then the TikToks, the July 7th brother TikTok was posted. And then July 14th is how we end up here. And then July 16th, John gets an email from this random account telling him to reach out and look into things. And then the Boise incident happens July 23rd.
But I guess we have to say, we love you, Megan. Is that fair to say as well?
Yes. We miss Megan. The band doesn't feel the same without Megan here.
So we got part of the band.
Yeah, filming July 2nd. July 2nd is that's I'll wait on that. I'll wait.
And back together. But
we'll come back to that in a couple days, Lindsay.
Anyway, all right. So anything that you want to add, take away, or correct from my intro, Lauren?
No, I superstar's a little much, but a true crime podcaster, yes.
Yeah, and I think
What do you want me to say is serious, Tracy? Because if you think she's seriously being stalked, you're not going to get that here. Until she comes out with proof and actual proof and not these wild allegations, you're not going to get me to say it's serious. What's serious is her weaponizing her following and other people's followings for this public smear campaign that she's attempting to do against a bunch of people because she got caught with her fucking mouth running about victims. That's what we have right now. We don't have anything further than that. I have no indication that she is being stalked in any way, shape, or form. There is nothing serious in what I can see anywhere that anything is happening to Lauren besides what Lauren is creating.
I think the titles that we kind of brainstormed in the outline.
What's serious about this situation is Lauren is another true crime creator using frivolous filings in a courthouse, taking away from victims while profiting off of victims and their pain. That's the problem we have here. And that's a really serious situation.
Sort of like how true crime has interplayed with your, Mormon upbringing and your Mormon faith. Yeah, just kind of your epic Mormon journey. And that's what we do on Mormon Stories is long form. And I'll just let people know the current tentative plan, we always try and go with how the interview is going, is probably to do a two-parter on this episode because there's so much good stuff. So part one is going to be sort of Lauren Matthias's background leading up to her decision to start the Hidden True Crime podcast. So that's kind of all about her.
Isn't it ironic how short of a time frame this is? It is such a short time frame of how this escalated. And the only person that we really are seeing anything escalating from is Lauren.
Background. And then depending on how it goes, we'll have a part two, which is sort of the beginnings of Hidden True Crime podcast, its evolution, and, where things are today, what it's been like to cover so many important true crime stories, many of which are within a Mormon context, and then maybe some Q&A at the end. So that's kind of the rough plan in the outline. Does that sound good?
There are people within these circles and these audiences that have been extremely victimized by journalists and people like Lauren and many other commentators and journalists and YouTube creators. It's absolutely astonishing that she would pull this.
Good.
Sounds good. I'll just get comfy and yeah.
So let's all settle in. You ready, Mindy?
I'm ready.
All right. Let's do it. All right. So, Lauren Matthias, where does your Mormon story begin?
Well, I guess it begins before I was born, right? My ancestors. But I do want to say this before
She already has a book. She's already authored a book.
I even start talking
She actually pushes it at the end of part two.
why I'm doing this. And you asked me a long time ago.
Here's the reason why she is doing this.
And yeah, you've asked me if I've ever wanted to do this. And I thought, you know what? I don't think so. Like, it just felt a little overwhelming. People have expectations of who I am, and I don't want to disappoint anyone. And as a journalist, on my podcast, Hidden True Crime, I don't tell people what I believe, or I don't tell people where I am, because I just want to relay the evidence non-biasedly. And while I'll share about
That's incorrect. Look what she did with the Delphi case.
having an LDS background, that's all I will say in order to let them know I am relaying the evidence and nothing more.
Again, in my opinion, what she wants is she wants to dabble in both sides. So she remains LDS while speaking out against their doctrine and things within the LDS space. So she attracts the Exmos, but she keeps her foothold into the LDS church because of the connections it provides. That is my own opinion. And you got to remember, in this space, We have a lot of ex-cult members, so ex-Mormon, and we have a lot of current cult members. I'm sorry. If you are Mormon, this is not to be offensive to you, but it's a cult. The Mormon Church is a multi-million-dollar business. We can talk about how Oaks is now the president too, and that's a crazy fucking situation in itself. But we'll say that for another day. How many of you have followed any of the Scientology stuff? If you know that how people behave when deconstructing from a cult, a lot of times that community that builds the X community is sometimes a cult within a cult, an X cult within a cult. The parallels are here. And she, in my opinion, wants to keep a hold into the LDS church because of the connections it provides her, and dabbles with exposing some of the LDS doctrine to attract the Exmos.
Or the knowledge they need to have, about the LDS faith that I know of, because I cover a lot of LDS-centered crimes. And yet, as a reporter and a journalist for over a decade.
If you don't mind, I'm going to speed it up. If it gets too fast, to let me know. I just can't handle the slow talk. I'll turn closed captioning on.
15 years, I have encouraged people to tell their stories, because I do believe that stories change us. They change humanity. They humanize people.
Ding, ding, ding. In the midst of all of this chaos and drama that she's got going on, July 2nd, the day that they're filming this, it doesn't show up until July 14th. June 9th, the Proton email goes out. She magically made time after all these years of working with John to do this sit down. In my opinion, this was to try and humanize her. I think this has been a production in the making for quite some time.
Which is actually the opposite of crime. Crime is a dehumanization of people, and it's so important to humanize people. And I think that stories, and what Mormon stories does.
Oh, Chico, come on now. We all know that I'm capable of being a bitch to multiple people at one time.
Is so powerful, because stories change our minds and our ideas. And that's important to me. And so I was just at Lori Vallow Daybell's third trial. There's been so many. And a couple came up to me and said they watched Hidden True Crime and said how much they had loved one of my particular interviews.
Oh my God, Jay.
And said that they had watched it.
Oh my God. Oh God, I just opened that link you sent me. Okay. All right. Well, we got time. We got time, Jay.
3 times.
What?
And I said, really, all 3 parts, because this was a very long interview. And they said, all 3 parts, please tell her she is very brave. And I'm so grateful that she was brave. And I think that was the moment. And I did tell this interviewee that, and I shared that with her. And that was the moment I realized, I think it's time that I should maybe try to be brave. And so that's when I reached out and said, I'm ready. So I just want to lay that out why I'm doing this.
The Mormon Stories podcast, Jamal. Yeah, give me a second. I'll drop it in the comments for you. Let me get Hank a treat. I almost called Hank Dexter.
I am nervous because I don't like disappointing people. And so I think about that. I think about expectations people have of me and what they might learn about me. But I also want to own my.
Welcome to my world, Jay. This is where I love to be, though. The Mormon religion in itself fascinates me after living in Utah. And the connections with all of these people are so freaking deep. But I really like John Dehlin is somebody I really do like. John Dehlin has gone through a whole hell of a lot with the church, leaving the church, how he was excommunicated. And he's done a lot of good for the victims around a lot of the LDS spaces too. But yeah, it's a rabbit hole that's never ending. Just wait until you realize they all connect to like the Attorney General's office and Tony Robbins and Glenn Beck and 501c3s and ooh, it's a lot.
Story and rather than just be authentic.
Yeah.
So.
It's beautiful. What a beautiful intention. And I am so super confident that we're just going to have a great time and a heartfelt connecting time as friends. And I'm excited to learn about your story, Lauren, because you made a big difference in a lot of people's lives and in ours. And it's kind of a sacred honor to be a part of this. So
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a great intention. I guess what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right?
Yes.
So now, where does your Mormon story begin?
So my mother is from the East Idaho area. That's where she actually was born in Hollywood, California, but she grew up in East Idaho. And my grandfather there, her father was a chiropractor and a bishop in Pocatello. And then my father is from Arizona. He was born in Casa Grande, mostly raised in Oregon, though. And a long line of LDS ancestors on both sides. While my grandmother, my dad's mom, was a convert. Other than that, Paces, John.
And just to make sure everybody knows, she is LDS. 100% confirmed she is still LDS. And she actually speaks about it at the end of episode 2. So as of July, she confirmed that she is still LDS. Now, how that is possible with what she has exposed of the church doctrine, I mean, Joseph Smith and his underage brides, I don't know how she is still LDS. I don't know how that happens, but here we are. It is what it is, but she is LDS. She is active in the LDS church. Now, they're not in Utah anymore. They do not live in Utah. So what does that mean? She's probably more like Jack Mormon. If she drinks, she cusses, things of that nature, things that are outside the doctrine.
Johnson's, people being baptized in Kirtland.
Meaning she is not a temple recommend Mormon. She probably doesn't wear her garments, things of that nature.
Then one of my great grandmothers on my mother's side has a painting in the St. George Temple of her carrying. Legend has it, hundreds of people across the icy Platte River.
I don't know about all of his John DeLynne's connections and like how any of that works privately. But as far as factual content that can be checked, a lot of their stuff backs off of like Lynn Packer, American Crime Journal, a lot of the big journalists that have exposed a lot within the LDS spaces. They kind of, I don't even know how to say it, but they connect with that. So a lot of his stuff can be secondary fact check in other places.
They've sold. People ask, well, where were the men? I said, they're getting owned by my grandma. And then and then on my dad's side, I even have some that actually were in the Mexican colony, I think with the Romneys. I mean, there's a wide range, but I am LDS blood through and through. And then my parents met at BYU. That's how you meet. And then I was born in New York City while my dad was attending Columbia Law School. That was a mistake. They already had 2 boys in a very small apartment. And
no, I do not believe that at all. As much as he has dismantled the membership of the church, he has actively been a participant in tanking their membership. When I say that, he has shown the light on a lot of the corrupt behavior within the church, and there's no way the church would allow that.
New York City. And so I came alongside 2 older brothers. Then we lived in Brooklyn for a while when my dad practiced, and then the family actually moved to Romania for a time. It was my dad had a Fulbright scholarship there, studying international law because it was a communist country at the time. It was under the dictator Ceausescu, and so a lot of
the reason why I feel more confident with him is because of the information can be vetted by other sources. In fact, Lynn Packer is amazing. If you don't know who that is, he's an incredible journalist. He's an older guy from the LDS church. Very connected though. Excommunicated, like they would never let John have a YouTube channel like this to get the ins on other people, because he has actually provided a safe space for people leaving the church, and their membership is dwindling. Last year, I think 40%, I think John reported that 40% of missionaries were leaving the church within 6 months of returning, and most of them had returned early from their missions. Now that they have social media and access to a lot of the lies, people are leaving over and over again. Their membership is down majorly, and it's a business. It is a major business.
Stories growing up of how he had to hold me. I was a toddler at the time, in food lines in order to get food, how there were spies everywhere, and they had
he's gone through a shit ton of stuff, Jay. A shit ton of stuff.
Slip a Book of Mormon to someone underneath the table that was interested, how they had to bribe doctors with cigarettes to treat my older brother. And so there was a lot of lessons when I was younger about how important freedom of religion is and accepting everyone. And then in New York though too. And I love this about my parents, how they taught diversity. You know, my dad would always teach about respect of other religions too, while he was proud of our LDS heritage. He would always tell the story of being in this small apartment, student housing in New York City, and our neighbors were Orthodox Jews and how they helped one another. And they didn't want to operate machinery on the Sabbath. And so they would come over and they would knock, not ring the doorbell, but knock on my parents' door and say, can you come push the elevator buttons for us? And my dad would go out.
Oh yeah. You have to be up to date. Oh yeah. There's interviews and stuff. Yeah. Oh, it's intense. They keep records from the time these kids are baptized. They keep records.
Push elevator buttons for them on that Sabbath day so that they could keep their Sabbath holy. And so I was also always I always grew up with the idea that you did say happy holidays and not Merry Christmas, and that you respect everybody's religions, and that we kept coffee in our cupboard if we had friends come over that were visiting that drank that. And so it was more of a I think I had a lot of LDS pride.
Belinda, this is my rabbit hole. If anybody knows that, if anybody's been around here for a while, you give me anything LDS, Mormon, corruption, manipulation, and I am game. Like, this is where I come alive. The Tim Ballard, Sound of Freedom, all of that stuff, the connecting pieces with the Daybells, the Frankie, the Hildebrands, that shit is where I really get. Cults fascinate me. They're harmful as fuck. But she's an active cult member, and her followers, she's keeping a foothold into multiple. She's playing all sides for her own personal benefit. And you're going to see some of that, I have a feeling, in this.
And a lot of like heritage kind of a feeling to it. Like, this is us and someone else might be Jewish. And so that's something I want to kind of put out there too, because I think that formed a lot of how I thought about my faith. And then we moved to Salt Lake City. That's where I started kindergarten. And from there,
Jamal, Kyle, and I attended as the non-Mormons one of the conferences, the general conferences. You want to see the craziest shit I've ever seen in my life. Like that was wild. Absolutely wild. It's like the Super Bowl for LDS. I've never seen anything like it. All the influencers out there taking their TikToks and their videos, because the church also, I don't know how much they're doing it currently, but for a long time, they were heavily promoting and putting marketing behind their influencers. There's a whole space. The Trad Rife stuff, Ballerina Farm, she's married to a multi-billionaire. Like, that's the family he comes from. But that whole curated Bonnie, who is Ruby's sister, they were really pushed and promoted from the church.
Was it the early mid 80s that you were in Romania, basically?
Yes.
Okay.
And then we moved to Salt Lake City. So neither of my parents are from Salt Lake, but that's where I was raised for the most part. And we settled right in Salt Lake City. My dad's legally blind too, so he could never drive. So
and just an FYI, if you are Mormon and in here, please do not take offense to what I am saying. I will continue to say that the LDS Church is a cult. They're not the only cults. However, I still love my Mormon friends. I have a lot of them. So I will respect your beliefs, but I will continue to say it is a cult.
Always lived in a downtown area. So, this is before remote working. That wasn't the thing, right? So we always lived in a very downtown sort of central area for the most part, so that he could ride his bike or catch a ride to the office, or sometimes even walk. And so we lived in Salt Lake City. And
Jamal, do you know who Ballerina Farm is? If you do not, look into Ballerina Farm. Your mind will be blown. Absolutely fucking blown.
Can I just say, legally blind, Columbia Law School, Fulbright scholar, that's a lot.
Yeah. My dad is I love my dad. And I say that because, there'll be
some twists and turns.
But I love my dad. Yeah. And he is a remarkable man. His dad did not go to college. So,
whoa.
Yeah. So he is a really neat guy.
Was he legally blind from a young age, or?
He actually, I have the journal entry. It's fascinating when he finds out that he's legally blind. So he went on a mission to the Philippines. So right before, he was being raised in Oregon, and he couldn't see as well in high school. So they did eye tests on him, and they noticed that glasses weren't helping it. Something was wrong. And they did a bunch of tests, and they later learned that he had what is called Stargardt's disease. And it's a hereditary macular degeneration.
Do you guys know about Angel Studios? Does anybody understand what Angel Studios is? Angel Studios is the production company behind The Sound of Freedom and many other independent films. They are all crowdfunded. It's ran by the Harmon brothers out of Utah. Do you guys know who that is? Hey, Clue Crew, thanks for sending them over. Do you guys know who that is? I used to troll the shit out of the Harmon brothers on and loved every fucking minute of it. Angel Studios used to or did produce The Sound of Freedom. They're when Hollywood and all of that got rid of it, Angel Studios took it on. They are a big production company that is ran by the Harmon brothers out of Utah. They are a LDS film-based company, independent, but they're crowdsourced and crowdfunded. You want to see something crazy, Jay, since you know that industry a little bit? Oh, shit, yeah, I did. Jay, I trolled the shit out of them. I'd go in their chats while they were live and having Tim Ballard on there and ask him all sorts of fucking questions. That guy is a creep. I've got all the fucking court documents on the whole everything with Tim Ballard, too. I know. Me, troll? I know, and I showed everybody where I was at. I had a blast doing it. I can't stand that grimy shit. I can't stand it.
Of eyes, and so it gets worse with age. And then he did get his driver's license when he was 16, but he went on a mission. Then when he came back from his mission after the Philippines, and I talked to mission companions of him, they say, I just remember him as the elder that couldn't see.
Mm-hmm.
He came back from his mission and could not get a driver's license at that age. He could not see.
Yes. That's another good one on Angel Studios. Yep.
And they said, you are legally blind. So he was 21. And so he wrote in his journal.
I have quite a few videos of cult stuff, like with The Sound of Freedom, the LDS Church, connections with Sean Reyes, who was the Attorney General, a bunch of those people, if you want to watch any of that stuff. Lynn Packer, I've used some of his reporting, a bunch of things of that nature from like 2 years ago. This is what I love. And she has a lot of foothold into the Exmo and the current LDS.
His mission journal, he said, the wildest thing just happened. I just found out I was legally blind. This is crazy, but hey, you know what? I'll get great airline tickets.
No, John is not LDS unless he's converted recently, but last I knew, no. And I think she actually confirms that too.
You know, I could, like something about, this is going to be okay. He's very optimistic. But yeah, when my mom and dad dated, my mother would drive and would have to pick him up, and he never drove growing up. So my mother, bless her soul, like she had to drive everywhere, every road trip, and she'll have 6 kids.
I personally don't like the trad wife stuff because I have a lot of traditional values, and I think they shit on people. Like, I grew up on a dairy farm. I like to garden. I have a lot of traditional values, and people that curate that stuff, whether they're billionaires, are shitting on like the old style of homesteading and things of that nature. So Ballerina Farm for me is a no-go.
It's total later on, but yeah. So yeah, it was interesting growing up with a dad that didn't drive. I remember though, sometimes he'd be like, we need to get to church. And I remember him getting in the driver's seat once and just like freaking out as like a 7-year-old. He didn't do that later on because it got worse. His eyesight is pretty bad now.
They met over a case that she was covering when she was an ABC affiliate in Boise.
So you moved to Salt Lake City?
Moved to Salt Lake City. And I remember every Sunday, usually walking, because that story didn't have that happen like once or twice, but we would walk down an alley to get to our church building. And it was an old historic.
Are you talking about the Second Anointing?
Church in Salt Lake City, and I had a beautiful stained glass window at the front of the chapel of Christ knocking on that door without a doorknob. And so Christ, and by the way, I just loved that. I loved that stained glass window. I loved having Christ there in the chapel every day and that symbolism.
Tell us what the knob not being there.
Yeah, that Christ is knocking, but you have to let him in. You have to let him in. And yeah. And so it was beautiful. It was a small ward. It was a close-knit ward. I was actually the only girl my age in the ward. And then I only had brothers. And so when people say, what was it like? There weren't really other girls in the ward to say, oh, we were being taught roles because I was the only girl in my family. I was being taught roles. Trust me, like I was being called difficult and the tomboy, and I was getting left out of my old.
Oh, I don't know if Nara is a Temple Recommend Mormon. She is really good friends with Ballerina Farm. They actually do content together. Nara says her words are, she's not hardcore Mormon. She did get married in the temple. She did not get married in the temple. She is not hardcore Mormon. So more conservative LDS values, whatever that means. That's what Google says. But yes, she is LDS. Nara and Lucky.
The brothers' activities, like I felt it. I think I was a born kind of feminist and frustrated that I couldn't do, I couldn't hang with the boys. But there weren't those things being taught in church in my early years. You know, I was Mary in the Nativity most
The 3 different levels of heaven.
often every year. And it was just a very close, caring ward. And then my best friend, I just needed one good friend, and I just had one best friend, and she was not LDS. So, so it was good. And we were, we both were very, my dad spent a lot of time with my older brothers. My mother was really nurturing. I was the youngest for 5 years, and I had 2 younger brothers, and she spent a lot of time taking care of them. I helped her take care of them. And so I just went and found friends. And this friend, Abby, actually was a big part of my childhood. And we would just play out in the gully in Salt Lake City and just be imaginative. But that's something I want to say. So she was not LDS. And so in some ways, I think that I might have even questioned God before I questioned.
Melissa from Montana. First of all, I love your name. I partially grew up in Montana, so shout out to Montana. And yeah, her content is a little unachievable. Like, it just kind of gives, hey, whatever works for them. But it's like,
Santa Claus, because
too much.
I'm being taught in church that this is true, but my best friend in the world doesn't believe it. But it was.
So she didn't believe in God.
I don't know if she believes in God or not, actually. I don't know. But I'll tell this story first, and then we'll get into my question of God.
Isn't that fucking crazy? Well, Lucky wanted Starburst, so I just went in the kitchen and made him Starburst. Who the hell has all of that shit on hand for Starburst? Come on now. In my vintage Louis Vuitton dress and my perfectly done hair, like, do you?
She wasn't actively religious.
Yeah, I don't know what religion, right? I didn't know. Yeah. But she came to church with me a couple of times. We invited her, and she came to primary, and it was really fun for me. And I do remember one Sunday morning, we went every week. We went all 3 hours every week. I was a 3-hour girl, right? We can say that.
Okay, I will not interrupt your nap with dumping you in BJ's, I promise.
Both ways, and went to church 3 hours. 3 hours. and Abby came with me a few times, I remember. And then I remember one Sunday morning, everybody's getting ready, and my mom stopped me on the stairs, and she said, "Hey, sweetheart, you know how Abby has come to church with you on Sundays?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, what Abby does on Sundays is she swims. She's a very good swimmer. She was on the swim team."
And I don't understand how she can even cover the crime she has and dismantle the things she has and still say she is proud of her LDS background. It's shocking to me. But then again, overlooking the Book of Mormon, Joseph Smith, the golden plates, like the storytelling, the fables behind it. If you haven't seen Under the Banner of Heaven, highly recommend.
So they've invited you to go swimming today, and you are going to go with Abby today, because that's what Abby does on Sundays. And so that was sort of the way my parents taught me. Like that. So it was just very, okay. And I was like, great, that's fun for me. And so I got to go swim with Abby. So that's how I remember my parents
welcome in,
sort of teaching us to sort of respect and love everyone's differences and how I grew up.
Did you ever feel a pressure that you needed to, proselytize to Abby, or do you recall, were you too young to maybe have those feelings? Or I just recall having, friends who were not LDS and maybe feeling some pressure internally or externally to recruit my friends to go to church. I wonder if you ever felt that way with that.
I do have an email. It's just nonsense on because I'm a dumbass, daweb@gmail.com.
I didn't feel that way with Abby. I do remember having visitors from out of the country visiting us and me singing "I'm a Child of God" and them saying, "We don't believe in God, don't sing that." But I remember thinking, oh, okay, oops. Like I remember feeling embarrassed, but I don't think I ever felt the pressure to proselytize to her. No.
It sounds like your parents were just very globally minded and it sounds like they didn't have the sort of provincial.
Probably depending on the location you are in, Nikki, is how you would see that or view that. Some would say they don't even believe that racism is a thing around the LDS church. However, the doctrine shows otherwise. In Utah is a whole different dynamic when it comes to Mormon in itself. So I think that just is going to vary on location and people's experience. But the doctrine is the doctrine.
Mormon bubble mindset. That's what I'm getting so far.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's what I want to express too, because people wonder, and that's I'm happy about that part of my childhood and how they did that. Yeah, they did. They had a global mindset. And so while I didn't feel pressure to proselytize to Abby, I think though, realizing that I would go to church and my best friend didn't, I had this very clear recollection of being 7 years old. I was in the bathroom and having.
All right. This is where it gets really interesting. And I want you to kind of pay attention. California Mormons are very usually, Ballard grew up in California, which is really funny. But they're more lax, I would say. I think as the older generation, I hate to say this, but passes away, they're losing some of that.
In a moment of like thinking how happy I know that the church is true, that I did think this is the truth. We know the truth. I have this true church, and I know that I'll be with God, and I know that I'm safe, and that God loves me, and and for a split second thinking,
interesting.
But what if I don't know? What if it's not true? And the fear that enveloped me as a 7-year-old, thinking that for a split second, I will never forget, because it was so palpable that I quickly was like, it is true. Like I just shut it off. I was like, it is true, because it was so scary to me to think there might not be a God, or this might not be right. Because
fear-mongering 101.
I think looking back now, I just had an absolute fear of death. Like, I mean, I think most human beings probably, experience that at some point. Like,
I can't say as though I have. And at 7,
we all die. And I just couldn't go there. And I think, honestly, when I look at that moment, I think that also maybe even was the transition into sort of being fascinated with true crime.
What?
I was fascinated with true crime as a child.
Because that's a problem. What about Barbies? G.I. Joes, Dirt, Polly Pockets, cheerleading? Nah. Fascinated with true crime as a child. Okay.
Because I think true crime represented death, and my fear of death, and the evil of humanity, and what is real. And like we have this safety and this comfort in God and heaven and being with our families forever, and a plan and a purpose and
But the LDS faith doesn't believe in heaven. They have 3 different kingdoms.
Special, and it's all going to be okay.
And we're protected.
And we're protected.
Right?
And we're protected. And true crime is saying there is actually evil.
That's why they baptize the dead, is so they can be together in the afterlife. There's a whole lot here to unpack, but this to me absolutely shows the PR part of this in the time frame of her knowing that something could come out. This is kind of trying to do a press junket before anything dropped, in my opinion.
This world, and this is humanity, and this is being mortal, and someone could kill you tomorrow, and it could all be gone. And I remember the first show I started watching, I was like,
you don't know anything about Nikki, about baptizing the dead? Look it up. Google it. You will be stunned about what I'm talking about if you don't know about it.
7, 8, 9 was a show on TV called Rescue 911. People my age will remember it.
I remember that show.
You remember it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Before Unsolved Mysteries, there was Rescue 911. And, and also I think my mother was too busy with the younger kids, and my dad was an incredible musician too. Yeah. My dad, he's an incredible musician, and he taught my older brothers how to play music.
That's where Clark gets it.
Yes. Yeah. You know my brother Clark. And yeah, I have a very musical family. I'm the black sheep in many ways. That's one of them. Again, I just went and found friends. But I would watch the show. The good news is everyone was rescued, hence Rescue 911, but it's how they would call 911 and get rescued. Like I remember to this day watching where someone comes in the middle of the night, an intruder, and they come up and start attacking.
Beach life. This is, here, I'll just show you guys so you can see it. July 14th, 2025.
Attacking a little girl's dad with a knife, and the little girl runs down.
So again, this fits in the time frame, and this is why it's important to watch this. So June 9th, the Proton email goes out that gets Lauren rocked about she's going to be exposed. June 19th, she has Grayson reaches out to a creator that says something might go viral about you. There's a bunch of people that want your head on a platter. She makes a police report on June 19th. This was filmed July 2nd, released on July 14th. The incident in Boise happens July 23rd, where she called the cops because of the interaction there.
Calls the phone, calls 911. She's crying. They're playing the 911 call on this thing. She's saying, help, my daddy is getting murdered. And they're doing the B-roll. And so you see the guy with the knife over,
the reenactment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm thinking, hurry. And 911 calls. And that was the episode that just stuck with me, because I thought if she didn't call right then, he was about to be killed. The reenactment was so like suspenseful back and forth, and how close her dad was to death, and that she saved him, and how frightening that there could just, this be this other side, the opposite of what faith teaches us, church teaches us. And so I became a very fearful child, and
Interesting.
Whenever I go to bed at night, I would think, where's the phone? So I can call 911. What if someone comes in the middle of the night? I would practice hiding in my pillows. Like, how would I hide? They would check under the bed. How would I hide? And I would practice, and I would put my stuffed animals on me. How would I get to my little brothers to
This is so unhealthy. This is so unhealthy.
save them? Where's my escape route? I would be up in the middle of the night thinking, do I hear something? Wanting to scream. And this, I say this because this is a big theme in my childhood that lasted
Seems like paranoia, in my opinion.
years. I'm jumping ahead. Like, I remember being 11 and screaming for my dad in the middle of the night. And he had to run upstairs, and I just thought someone was in my house. So this started very young and lasted a very long time, which we'll get into. And so looking back with adult eyes, I just think I was processing my fear of death. Like, what this contradiction to what I'm being taught in church and what the world really is. And I also remember in elementary school.
And at regular speed, her facial expressions are really weird. Hold on.
Going to the playground and having girls say, oh, look, there's Satan coming out of a house. It was recess, and taking it very literally and fearful. And then someone saying, well, if you look in a mirror in the middle of the night and say Bloody Mary, Satan's going to appear, and being absolutely afraid of mirrors at night for years, like just so afraid. And my mother started noticing. My mother was very aware. She was very nurturing. And I remember my dad was out of town, and she went and she bought me Cinderella, actually, just to watch at night because I could not sleep. And I still have Disney's Cinderella memorized.
This to me is so unhealthy. If this is how she actually felt as a child and had those fears, and then she went into oof.
I can recite almost the whole thing still because I would just watch it every night, which is interesting because I think I saw her in this very abusive situation, because that's the thing. I know that everyone's like, oh, Cinderella just gets rescued. And that is a problem because that did affect me. But they started with, she's being abused by her stepmother, and these people are horrible to her. But she also, doesn't stop dreaming and perseveres and
isn't this interesting?
Saves herself, I guess, through her beauty.
Talking about abuse. What did we hear the other night?
And kindness. We'll get to that, but
wasn't there a murder attempt in Cinderella, or am
I think the original. Well, yeah, and the wicked stepmother completely dehumanizes her, and
I think that's exactly why she finally, after all these years, took John DeLynn up on his offer to come do her story.
Like, wants to kill her when she finds out she's in love with the prince, and you know what I mean? It's
there's
like
some true crime in there.
There's some definite true crime in Cinderella. Yeah, but she's kind and she's beautiful, and of course, yeah. Then she falls in love at first sight, and I know all the problems with Cinderella. But
Angel Chips, I showed a video of her yesterday from her reporting career before she looked like this.
I would watch that show.
It was beautiful.
And yeah, so I think that was a big part of my childhood. Oh, and then I even remember, like, in first grade, this was like the era of McGruff the crime dog. I mean, they talked about kidnappers in first grade. Like, you're going to be kidnapped. And I remember a McGruff the crime dog police officer coming in and talking to us in first grade, like, as you walk home from school, because we all walked home.
I don't remember first grade. I don't think much of it.
From school alone then, there were no surveillance cameras. When you walk home from school,
these are very intense childhood memories. Very intense, it seems.
Look for the McGruff crime dog house. They're the safe houses. And I remember thinking, that is bull. Like, if I was a kidnapper, I would be like, make me a McGruff crime house or McGruff dog crime house, so that the kids will be lured in. So I remember I would walk past houses where I'd see McGruff the crime dog in the window and just think, dude, that's freaky. Like, just be scared of that house, because like, I know who they are. They're playing one on me. So yeah,
that's really fascinating that you would work that out. You know what I mean? Kind of twist it to be like, it's a trap.
Yeah, that's where I went.
Yeah, it's so interesting to hear you talk about the fear of being kidnapped. I don't know if young kids now have that same fear, but I think growing up in the 80s, we heard a lot about kidnapping and stranger danger and the milk carton kids were missing kids, and it was a big fear. Maybe that's just intrinsically a childhood fear, but I don't know. I felt that a lot.
Did you?
Yeah. Is it more a girl thing or a boy thing?
No, for sure. But I also just want to note for your particular story, there's a combination of, I would say, precociousness in the sense that you're pondering existential things at age 7, but also I don't want to pretend any diagnosis, but there seems to be
You got to remember, this guy works in the mental health fields. So I'm sure as he's listening to this, he's like,
high level of anxiety.
Probably.
That then when you start learning about the dangers in the world and the realities of the world, you internalize that and process it in what I would say is a very sophisticated way relative to what probably I and lots of other kids might have done. But there may be a teeny bit of scrupulosity in the story as it unfolds. And that's what I was mentioning that to Grayson before we started.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just high level of conscientiousness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And that sounds like fear, right?
Yeah. Well, to what you just said, I just think that's interesting. I think I want to say this as far as attention goes too.
And one thing about John is John very much validates his guests. He validates their emotional experiences and what they went through. Being or having gone through what he did with his LDS upbringing and then his deprogramming, he is very good at validating everybody's emotional needs. That is something he does.
When I said at the beginning of this interview, like,
and where she was looking for validation from Duty Ron and Ed last night, I almost kind of think that this is what she was doing by putting this interview to drop in the midst of all of this chaos going on.
a lot of people wonder what I believe. I think a part of this is finding out what I believe too. And so you pointing out those things to me, like, you're the Mormon stories expert. You're the podcast. I appreciate that. I just want to say, like, okay, let's go on. Like, tell me more. So,
well, I don't know anything, but I'm just kind of observing as I go, and I'll float a thing here or there. But you're the expert on your life, not me.
Chris, thank you so much for being a member for 12 months.
well, you're the expert on Mormonism, so fill me in. Fill me in. Yeah, from there,
McGruff the crime dog.
I know. Yeah, that was an interesting.
No, but you noting that the type of person, it's just kind of like who is often, drawn to be a Boy Scout leader, people who would abuse Boy Scouts, right?
That's
like
true.
You noting that as a kid, that a stranger danger or McGruff crime dog sticker might actually be a warning sign, not a safety invitation, shows a real intense level of sophistication for a young kid.
Agreed.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I thought it was just kind of twisty, but okay.
Okay, it's both.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So that
She actually went on, what's his name? Now it's gonna Radio Free Mormon. She did his podcast too after this, which I was shocked by. Angel Chips, thank you for being a member for 11 months.
that leads me to baptism. So I was very excited to get baptized, AJ, because it was special. I had my white dress. Again, I always kind of felt special. I was the only girl for the majority of my life. My family did adopt my sister at age 22, but I grew up the only girl between 4 boys. But I was very much the only child. Two people say, oh, were you so spoiled? I'm like, I was actually pretty much the only child, or the middle child, not the only. Like, I was very middle. But these moments,
Welcome in, Scorpion.
I got my pretty white dress but I remember being gifted a book about baptism. And I really wanted to understand it, and reading the book and liking it. I would recognize the book. But I did try to find it on Google. I can't find it, but I read this maroon hardback book. It had a picture of a boy and a girl in the front, a photograph. And
For this one, you can't really talk about Lauren without understanding the religious piece of it, because that plays a huge role in this. And especially when you have a bunch of women who on all avenues are still connected to the LDS religion. Her alleged stalker is LDS. She's LDS. This is pretty typical toxic LDS women in spaces with competition and stuff like this too. It's just there.
it talked about the Holy Ghost and how the Holy Ghost would protect us.
Thank you, Jen,
And the thing about baptism I was most excited
for being a member for 33 months. I much appreciate you. Thank you.
about was getting the Holy Ghost so that it could protect me. And it said that it would give me warnings. And if I listened to it, it would tell me about danger. And that happened. Everywhere I went, I would be trying to listen. Is the Holy Ghost trying to say I'm in a dangerous situation? And even my prayers at night, I prayed every night. I would just lay down and pray.
Scorpion, don't worry. I have scorpions in Arizona, so I do black light and remove them. I eradicate them. Pest control.
I wouldn't kneel, but I would always pray to God. I'm grateful for that, by the way. I think my prayers growing up were very, it was like meditation. I would just lay in bed and thank him and ask and keep me safe. But I would owe it to God to always listen to the Holy Ghost. And so I remember like being on a bike ride and thinking, am I feeling that something's wrong? Is the Holy Ghost trying to tell me something's wrong?
Unfortunately, there is a ton of abuse within the Boy Scouts of America. That's also LDS that's factual, that a lot of Boy Scouts of America, that's a whole deep dive in itself.
On this bike ride, I remember thinking, jump off the bike. I would jump off the bike. You're holding that. And I would just be like, it told me to jump, maybe a car was going to hit me. Maybe the Holy Ghost was saying this car was going to hit you, but you had to jump off the bike. And so I would do that. Or then it would be out and it would be, go home right now, go home. And so I think, was that the Holy Ghost?
Toxic is my middle name.
And I would go home right then. So maybe that's what you were talking about. And so, yeah, there was sort of this obsession with the Holy Ghost protecting me, which is funny. I didn't worry about sinning as much. I just worried about it keeping me safe and listening to it. I think I would try to repent. The book said, if you do something wrong, you repent so you can keep the Holy Ghost. So I'm sure in my prayers, I said sorry for things so that I could always have the Holy Ghost. But the Holy Ghost was the ultimate goal, so it could help me and keep me safe. And yeah, I think though, I want to point out this, jumping ahead though, as far as
everything about her is very curated too. So this was another, she knew what she wanted to convey. And here we are.
The Holy Ghost goes in teenagehood and in young adulthood. I think in many ways, it may have helped me be more assertive because it actually became I can trust myself. I mean, because let's be honest, the Holy Ghost is your conscience and your internal dialogue. I know that.
Intuition.
Your intuition, your instinct. So I think actually, I want to point this out. While it might have been an obsession as a child, I think that as a teenager or a young adult, it allowed me to trust my intuition and know what I felt was real.
I like that.
So I want to give it that credit.
I like it.
But yeah, as a child, I was just like, avoid McGruff the crime dog houses, and the Holy Ghost will let me know anything else.
Jump off the bike.
Right. Jump off the bike. I'm going to get hit by a car. Well, here those in primary too. I remember a primary lesson where they said that this boy was riding his bike and he felt that he should get off the sidewalk. And as he got off the sidewalk, a car came rushing, speeding by, and he would have been hit.
And I, again, go back to, I think this is probably why she likely overshared with her 8-year-old son, if that's valid, what is claimed.
That was a story I remember. Taught in primary. Okay. Like, I've got to listen.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love it.
So I'm trying to think where next.
Journal writing.
Oh, journal writing. Yeah. Very avid journal writer throughout childhood, throughout teenagehood. If you want to hate yourself, be a young adult reading your junior high journals. I'm like, I don't know why anyone told me to keep those. Let's go burn those. But
you didn't burn them.
I didn't. They're in the garage somewhere right now.
Right.
I have a bunch of friends that are Mormon from Montana, and trust and believe they had way different upbringings too. In fact, one of them did get married at 18. I was a bridesmaid. I was 17. And we went and got shit-faced after her wedding. Her mom made homemade Kahlua for all of us. Yeah, and she got married at the Mormon church. So, and the bishop was there. I mean, Jack Mormons are a thing.
Yeah.
I always feel sad when I hear of people like destroying their journals.
Yeah.
Because there's lessons in there, right? It's cringy.
It's super
It's so cringy.
Yeah,
It's so cringy.
Yeah.
So cringy. Our poor kids now that write it all on social media.
I
But
know.
yeah, so I always loved to write. And again, I was very sort of alone in my thoughts as a child. Like I said, I had this one friend, and Abby, though, I want to say Abby.
I can't understate this, overstate this, whatever the fuck. I can't state this enough. There is a whole different thing about being Mormon in Utah. The pursuit of perfectionism, because it's the Holy Land, it is seriously in existence. Anybody that lives in Utah that is Mormon will tell you the competition within these spaces, it is harsh. It is very harsh for not all of them, but it is two different groups. They're either amazing or they're not. They're either the kindest people that really practice service and are just good people, or they're shit humans who use religion to cover up their misdoings. And if you have the second anointing, if you're in the brethren and have the second anointing, or if your spouse has had the second anointing, which is only the select, rich, devout Mormons, you can even get away with murder. Did you know?
Was this one person I connected to. She did move away at the end of 3rd grade. I was very sad. In fact, I wrote a big essay about it in my journal when she moved away, about my sadness. And I didn't meet another best friend that I connected to after that for quite a few years. And so the
purity culture, the culture around sex, is why you have so many swinging groups out of Utah. I think it used to be the 4th. I haven't checked into the stats recently, but it used to be the 4th highest downloads for pornography. The affairs, the same-sex relations that are underground because of this purity culture, especially within, if you go on a mission, you basically have a choice for a lot of them. You either go on a mission or you get married, or you go on a mission and you get married right out of the mission. This is why soaking and jump soaking are actual terms that are used on the campus of BYU. If you know, you know. If you don't make me explain it.
I was just a one girl, one friend girl. And so it was very kind of lonely after that. But again, I'm so glad I had her from kindergarten to the end of 3rd grade. She was such a important part of my life. But I wrote in my journal. So again, I was sort of left out of what my dad and older brothers were doing. And my mother was really consumed with taking care of my little brothers. She took good care of me too. I don't want to say that, but I'm a middle child. There's this natural gap. It's nobody's fault. It is what it is. The mistake born in New York City.
I was born and raised in a very Christian nationalist cult home. I am 42 years old, and it took most of my adulthood to realize what it was. And it's not Mormon, thank God. But I lived in Utah for 5 years before moving to Arizona. We had 2 missionaries that returned from their missions to live with us. We were very connected, very, very connected within the Mormon church, and very curious about other religions and their belief systems, things of that nature. Religion fascinates me. Deprogramming from cults fascinates me.
Remind us how old you were when your little brothers were born. Did you say there's a 5-year gap?
Yeah, my mother had a miscarriage. So she did not have my first little brother until I was 5. So I was the youngest for 5 years. So I was very nurtured. I think I have strong attachment because of that. My mother was so sweet with children. And then I was very excited for my 2 little brothers. So they were both born 2 years apart. So one was 5 years younger. And then my youngest brother, Jamie, who I adored, was 7 years younger. And I was very close to them because my older brothers wouldn't play with me. And I love kids and I loved being playful. And so I was very close to my little brothers. I was their babysitter. We would be so imaginative and just have so much fun. But yeah, so there was a gap though. So they had needs that, my mother had to take care of. And so I was this absolute, like every night in my journal. My mother actually, bless her soul, my first journal entry is when I'm like 3 or 4 and she's scribing it.
Oh.
And it's my words exactly.
Do any of you have writings from when you were 3 or 4?
And I'm saying strawberry shortcake birthday. I love it. I've seen songs and it's actually some of my favorite journals. And my mother did that. So there's probably half a journal full, just my mother scribing my thoughts.
That's really meaningful.
Yeah.
That's next level.
Huh?
Journaling.
Yeah. So I owe it to my mom for actually doing that for me. And
you and Joseph Smith had scribes in your journal.
Thanks, Mom. But I think that there are a few reasons I was such a big journal writer.
I mean, I think she's a storyteller. I can see why she became a journalist and a YouTube creator. What?
I love writing. Taylor Swift writes songs. My brothers play music. I write. It's just sort of my outlet. And I think that it was a way to express myself. And looking back, even though I want to burn a handful of them, they were probably really healthy. It was probably, I didn't have therapy growing up, but it was probably a replacement for therapy in many ways to sort of understand myself. But I also think I had a fear of being forgotten. I think it went back to the fear of death again, that I was just dust, right? Like you live, you die. Like
maybe that's what it was. Revival. Maybe they were working on the new golden plates for somebody else to. Oh my God. I listened to this last night and I was like, what? Huh?
No one will remember me unless I write stuff down. And I say that as an adult looking back. I'm not consciously thinking as an 8-year-old writing in my journal.
By the way, therapy is not a bad thing. I see all you people saying she needs therapy. We all need therapy. Everybody needs therapy.
I'm going to die, so I have to leave this.
Some need therapy and medication.
And then I think the third reason were lessons in church, though. We study the scriptures.
No shame in that either.
Those are ancient journals. We talk about our pioneer ancestors so much. And what do we...
Here it goes into the LDS upbringing. Again, those things are, ugh.
We know about them from the journals they kept and how precious. I remember a lesson, if Fannie Mae, I'd made that name up, but if Annie Mae Simpson didn't keep that journal, we would have never known what really happened in the Lion House that day. It's like, okay.
Maybe we don't want
to know. Yeah, that's probably
journal writing was very pushed. Yeah, I was very encouraged. I think
like pray, read your scriptures, have a garden, do a food, a 2-year food storage, and write your journals. Right? I mean, it was. I've got.
Food prepping, 2-year food storage is still,
like 6 journals from just up to my mission.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. But I remember 2 particular journals. I wrote a very long essay when Abby moved about my sadness. And then when my grandpa Manwaring died suddenly of a heart attack, that was the chiropractor in East Idaho.
There's a lot of chiropractors within the LDS religion too.
At 65, so I was 89, writing a very long journal about how sad I was. My mom didn't notice those. And she said, she kind of encouraged me. She's like, you could be a
family history
writer one day. You like to write. And she pointed out to someone, she's like, look, Lauren's like writing essays about everything that happens in her life. And I remember her showing that to somebody and saying like, you could be a writer, you could be a journalist one day. So I do remember.
And you had a Justice Warrior kind of slant as well, right?
Yeah, I actually, funny enough, even a year ago, I found an old box of all of these old like writings from elementary school, and I opened them up, and it's all, I was a Justice Warrior. It was like, I was talking about endangered animals in 3rd grade. We need to save endangered animals. I was talking about how much I hated pollution, and I had like a factory with smoke, like we've got to stop pollution. I talked about, this was also 3rd grade, Martin Luther King and how he helped. It wasn't written in the best. I was like, it was a little cringy to read it, but my effort, my intention was there about how
this just seems very, very intentional. I don't think Lauren does anything that's not intentional. And I think this interview and her story being in the midst of all this chaos where she's scared for her life and all of these people and she's making police reports says a whole lot.
The parks. And so, endangered animals, those were the things that I would also write about in school. And I had undiagnosed ADD. Growing up, I know many women or girls are undiagnosed because the ADHD, the hyper isn't always as obvious. But I think I was just very imaginative. It was very hard for me to concentrate on things. I think that's actually one reason I don't play a musical instrument like the rest of my family, because my mother couldn't get me to just practice. I was frustrated. I wanted to play.
There's actually more crossover between similarities with Scientologists and Mormons than a lot of people even realize. I mean, the belief systems are completely different, but career paths, lifestyle, things of that nature, there's quite a bit
right then. But somehow, and at school, I would miss assignments, and I didn't know always what was going on, but whenever there was a writing assignment, I could focus on that.
I'm not against food prepping whatsoever. It's just can turn into you can go from like an actual food storage situation to doomsday prepper really fast.
So
love it.
Yeah.
All right. We're getting a good picture of a little Lauren.
Yeah.
I love it.
Did you keep in touch with Abby? Were you pen pals or anything?
Yes, still. Yeah, we still text. She moved away to New Jersey, and then she moved to Virginia. And we still keep in touch. I hope to see her actually this summer.
True.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Donna, that's true too.
All right. So where do we go from here? We go to kind of moving to Bountiful. Is that the next phase of your life?
That was the next phase. So when I was 10,
Bountiful. Just wait for this story.
My family made a really big decision to just move away from Salt Lake City into the suburbs to Bountiful. My dad had a few friends and business partners moving up there, so he felt like he could hitch a ride to Salt Lake City to work every day. There was a house in the mountains, a new area. I mean, so this is in Bountiful, really high up in up high in the mountains. And these houses in the mid-90s were new. They were all new. So also we lived in a historic neighborhood in Salt Lake. So this was very different than I was used to. Some new homes, and we were the first people to live in this house, and it was big and it was white and it was modern. And so we moved in, and I think my dad did just have an idea that that his sons would plow this steep, driveway in this winter and, just do yard work. I think he just thought maybe I want my kids to, experience, a little bit more of the outdoors. And I don't know what he was thinking. Cause I actually, go ahead.
Is Bountiful the wilderness, Mindy, as far as your East Bench Bountiful?
You guys are really roughing it up there.
That's pretty much.
I felt I was in the middle of nowhere.
It would feel that way at that time when you had been used to living kind of downtown Salt Lake City. I can see how you'd feel that way, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, also, there's no internet. We only had 3 channels, 2, 4, and 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's no cable.
Basically for Great Depression era.
A big, beautiful home. So no Great Depression. It was a very large, beautiful, fancy home. So there was no Great Depression. And I had a beautiful mountain bike that, I could go out and ride. And I read a lot and I played with my little siblings a lot, but there was no, I wasn't going next door to play with my friends. We weren't walking to church anymore. So,
right.
So it was different from what, you're in Salt Lake City, you're like feet away from your neighbors. And so this is beautiful.
It was a different ward.
You have land, and it's it was different. And I think that Bountiful was really enjoyable actually for my older brothers. I shouldn't speak for them. I don't know. This is my own story, but it was very hard for me to move to Bountiful. And I felt, so all of a sudden there were 7 girls in my Sunday school class.
And you got to remember, this is in the time frame of her being, what she says, stalked and harassed in this huge campaign, this whisper campaign to destroy her career. What?
So like I said, I had never even had a girl my age in my Sunday school class, and they were all so nice. Like I was invited to a sleepover the week I arrived from the girls in the ward. I was like, oh, and they were all sweet. But I remember just feeling like, and this is so funny because it's not like there was a lot of diversity in my Salt Lake City class pictures. I look and we're all white. You know what I mean? So trust me, there wasn't a lot of diversity in Salt Lake City back then either. But I remember feeling in Bountiful, there's no diversity. I don't know if I knew that word, but I remember feeling like everybody is the same. No one understands me. Nobody's talking about.
No one understands you? Ma'am, you're white. You are the typical LDS. Like, what do you mean? The bloodlines. You were talking about, never mind. What are you talking about that nobody understands you?
Things I want to talk about. I remember the gossip. I remember my mother meeting friends in the ward and they would talk about whose children were doing what. And I don't know.
July 14th is the date it published.
I just remember thinking like, and I feel so bad. Bountiful's great. I have so many friends from Bountiful. This is my personal experience. So this is just me as a 10-year-old trying to like transition. I also didn't have any friends. And so I remember not feeling understood. You know, I just remember not feeling understood and alone and confused. And then
those are a lot of big feelings from the time she's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to 10 years old. Those are huge feelings to recall.
And
Can I just say, you were raised outside of a Mormon bubble mindset? I mean, Brooklyn, right? Romania. And there is no thicker, bigger bubble than 90s Bountiful, Mormon bubble than 90s Bountiful. So you're like, where am I? What is happening right now, right?
I think what I remember feeling is the things that mattered to them didn't matter to me. That's what I felt like.
I'm sure it wasn't all about Martin Luther King in your ward and pollution in your ward, right?
Right. I just felt like a misfit a little bit.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I think you were being raised in a more progressive, LDS family than I'm sure you even realized at the time. But
yeah, I didn't know that.
It felt normal to you. But yeah, I can see going to a place that's way more homogenous even than Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
And you already feel like a misfit when you're how old were you, 10? When you're moving to a new grade school and trying to make friends, you already feel like a misfit. But then.
Right. 5th, 6th grade for girls is not easy. Right. And I was changing and I wasn't the cutest. Like, I'm a late bloomer, guys. Like you look at these pictures and you're like, I was awkward. Like, which, I love it. But, so I'm not coming in there like the cutest girl that everyone wants to become friends with either. Like I was quiet. I didn't know how to, I needed to meet friends. Like, yeah. So yeah. And by the time you get.
That wasn't that long ago, Selma.
Get to a school in 5th and 6th grade, they already have all of their friends. Right. They've all been raised there. So it's not anybody's fault. It was just hard for me. Like it's going to be hard for any 5th or 6th grader to move.
But it's a super Mormon area. I'm pretty sure Jeffrey Holland as an apostle was living around Bountiful at that time.
Irene's daughter was in my class.
Who?
Yeah.
Henry
Irene's daughter. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mormon apostles chose Bountiful as a place to live in the 90s. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
It's thickest and most intense, conservative, wealthy, affluent Mormonism.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was really hard. And I don't think anyone was really noticing either because my mother.
Now it's kind of spread out to like Holiday, Park City, Cottonwood Heights.
She's talked to me about it now as an adult. I didn't fully understand, but she was suffering from severe depression in Bountiful and suffering with hypothyroidism. And she was in bed a lot.
St. George. Now it's spread out a little bit more, but yes.
And just dealing with things. I also learned later that she started therapy and I overheard her saying like, yeah, they're saying that all these LDS women are coming. So I think my mother was actually feeling the pressure too, looking back. And I think maybe for my brothers and my dad, it was great, like Bountiful. But like what I remember is there was a girl I really liked. She was very sweet. She was in my ward. I probably connected to her more than anyone. But whenever I'd go over to her house, so her older brother was friends with my older brother and they got to do whatever they want. Whenever she was over there, she was the oldest girl. There were like 8 kids in the family. She was always cooking and cleaning. And they were always like, sweetheart, do this. Sweetheart, do this. Like you got to do this. While her older brother was taking a nap and doing whatever. Like I think all of a sudden, this thing that I was shielded from, like this female role, like that, I was always called.
Hey, now, I actually miss Mitt Romney in comparison to what we have some now. Do you follow RTP, who used to work on Romney's campaign? Former LDS.
The tomboy. And yeah, I felt a separation between my brothers and what they got to do and what I got to do, but I could always push through. But I think in Bountiful, especially getting older too, it became very apparent that there was a separation between females and males. And it was becoming very clear to me and very frustrating. And then of course I'm getting older. I'm kind of awkward looking. I'm not meeting friends. Like I see the girls I want to be friends with. They're not particularly liking me.
And the only reason I say that about Mitt Romney is because he's not near as, he's a politician still, but nowhere near as crazy as like Sean Reyes and shit. Possibly, but I'll take what I think.
And then again, I remember hearing like petty gossip between women at the ward. Like even I'm just thinking like, why do they care about this stuff? And it was very hard. But it was the woman's role. And I remember this friend of mine, her mother actually became good friends.
Now, Meg, you might be pushing it a little bit on Sarah Palin.
With my mom. And they would hang out a lot. Very sweet family. But I think that even rubbed off on my mom a little bit. Because then she started pressuring me, like, Lauren, can you babysit? And she's dealing with depression. I remember standing up to her once.
Doesn't it kind of sound like nobody likes me? Everybody hates me. I guess I'll go eat worms. Kind of a thing of constant Isn't that kind of what you're getting out of this?
I remember this day in Bountiful. Lauren, will you babysit, my little brothers? And looking at her and going, why don't my older brothers ever have to? Why does it have to be me?
I was going to ask you that question. Were you starting to see these same gender roles formating in your own family?
Yes. And I think it was honestly too, like it was affecting my mother too, I think.
Yeah.
She's dealing with her depression and all this stuff. And I go, why does it have to be me? And I fought back. Why can't my older brothers do it? I always have to be.
Hell, I just did it again. Oops, I did it again. Do you think I'm getting a C and D? I'm just joking. But I have never seen somebody bitch about song lyrics. Man, Lauren, give me something to work with. I do some great shorts, some educational shorts with your own words. I got you. I just got to find something to, I can pull out all the Mormon hymns and put them to backgrounds. That's not a joke either.
The one. And she starts crying. She has depression. I'm sure, like, bless my mom. And it did not end well. I remember feeling guilt that I did that, because she's like, I need your help. But I think looking back, it was like
squids.
Like the pressure of how that's what I was feeling in Bountiful was this.
I thought this spoke to me so much though to who she is and a constant thing about her. Like, woe is me. I had all of this. And I'm not saying that she didn't. It's very likely that she did have a lot of fear. Those are typical things for kids. Anxiety, things of that nature can be typical. And not understanding it, but the way she's like, as an adult, the way I see it now, and it's just this is so performative. I'm sorry, I'm going to say it again. People have said that I'm invalidating her feelings by saying it's performative. No, it's performative. She has curated this. This is her industry. She turns it on and off for the cameras. I'm sorry, this is what it is. And the fact that she took the opportunity to do this in the scariest time of her life where she is afraid for her well-being and safety seems very misplaced.
Division of the male and female roles very strongly for the first time. I even remember my dad cracking a joke about girls not having the priesthood in Bountiful. And he was trying to be funny. That's, he diffuses things with humor and like trying to think, well, you don't have the priesthood. And I remember that thinking what is this? Like, what is this? So I was I think I was very angry and defiant about this. So I was very angry and defiant about the separation of roles that I was seeing clearly for the first time. And I think I was pushing back a lot on my mom. And I also felt like I wasn't connecting to my mom as much as I used to because we were close when I was a child. And again, she's dealing with her own stuff. Right. So that's probably part of it. I can't go back and see everything for what it was, but I remember longing for her and her understanding and her acceptance of me. And I think she was clearly wanting something from me that I wasn't giving her because I was rebelling. And I remember there was a day I hit Young Women in Bountiful and I was, introduced into Young Women. And our teacher said,
Young Women is the Young Women's group. So I don't remember the age you have to be. I think you're probably 10, 11-ish is when you start going to young women's group. Sorry. And then it goes all the way up to teens. Men are within the priesthood. All of the males within the role are within the priesthood. As soon as they hit a certain age, that's where it goes. And then the women's group turns into what's called the Relief Society. So you have Young Women's to the Relief Society. These are Mormon specific insider things.
That day, hey, I have had all of your mothers write you letters today and handed out all the envelopes to us. And I remember being so excited because I think I was just longing for a connection that, wasn't there. And I opened the letter and it was, I don't even blame her, but whatever was going on, she wrote about how she hopes that one day I can understand the difference between men and women. And she's like, there are different roles between men and women. And I hope that one day you will understand and embrace this. And I remember sitting there being like, I can't believe that this is the letter I just got. And I remember going home that day and going to my room and going to the other side of my bed and sitting down and looking at the letter and I would get very frustrated. I was difficult, just looking at the letter, just screaming and then just ripping it up and just screaming and just being so angry. So that's what the letter said. And I don't blame my mom for that.
No.
I think she was feeling it in Bountiful because what happened is my mom and I actually both we did end up connecting and we both fasted together and prayed so that we could find a home in Salt Lake and move back to Salt Lake. And I think when we moved back there, I did see my mom start to lighten up too, I think a little bit and maybe feel less pressure. So I don't blame my mom, but I just had a very hard time in Bountiful.
Was that letter basically your mom saying conform to stereotypical Mormon gender roles? Is that what I'm hearing?
I think so.
The intent of the letter
I think so. As I look back at my memories.
She's depressed and in therapy.
And she's depressed
as
and in
a Mormon
therapy.
housewife in Bountiful.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Right. Here, also overhearing her say, they say all these LDS women are suffering. Right. And
he was just sitting on her, you know, the typical bully he is. He just had to go plop on her and be like, here I am.
He's struggling. And I think, like I said, I think there's this moment of this tension of me pushing back and saying my brother should be babysitting, and I'm seeing how my friends being treated, and I think I could be rebelling more than I even knew I was rebelling against whatever this was, but enough that
we're developing.
I think I'm going to rename this. By the way, if you haven't seen, I did do a playlist on the coverage of this so far that I have done. If you are new here, I take things a little further and try to go a little bit more to understand who the characters are. We will be breaking down the interview she did and naming all of the different players that she mentioned and separating out the stalker portion of it. But I think it's very important to understand who she is at a base level to kind of even have something to work off of here. So that's where we're going. But I think I might rename this whole segment Secret Lives and Dirty Secrets of Mormon True Crime or social media influencers, something like that, because this is what it is.
Whatever, and she somehow felt that this is what she needed to lovingly teach me in this letter. And it was just like the opposite of everything.
She's seeing, she knows what your future looks like, as an LDS woman. And maybe she's seeing these feelings of injustice sprouting in you and just trying to encourage you to get with the program, because
maybe that's it.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think we'll run you over.
Yeah, right. Yeah, she sees these injustices creeping in on me, and she's like, "Yeah, get in line because this is your future." Yeah, maybe so. But we do. We fast and we pray. That was how we did it. Why don't we do this so that
Dear Heavenly Father, get us out of benefit.
And we moved back to Salt Lake City. So yeah. So we went back to the Salt Lake City area.
Was that Washington Federal Heights at that point?
It's got to be so hard for John to do this interview because she is still LDS and she acknowledges the problems within the church, but yet she wants to keep her access to the connections in the church. It is really interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's where we moved when I was 12, middle of 7th grade. And I remember this. I remember we moved and I took the city bus to junior high. Oh, I didn't know anyone. And I remember being really overwhelmed. But I remember being very happy. I remember seeing seeing a dude that was like a skater, and
I watch her too. She's great.
All these people.
Cults to Consciousness is another one, but she expands way outside of the LDS faith.
Not even I would hang out with, because I don't want to pretend that I was out hanging out with all these people that I valued diversity, but I wasn't. I was still in my bubble. Let's be honest. I don't want to pretend that.
See, many of you that overlap over here, like the true crime, or you come from true crime, and not half of you, but a lot of you are like me, that we prefer the cult deep dives and things like that. The religion aspect of the crimes and stuff. That's where we kind of attach to.
But I remember feeling safer around a diversity of people. I was just okay, this is good. I still ended up meeting girls similar to me that I hung out with, but it just felt a lot better. And I felt a lot more relaxed. And our home growing up, I felt a lot better in the ward. The ward was so nice. They were everything just the difference is the petty gossip wasn't part of it anymore.
Again, for anybody that doesn't understand, a ward is, so you have a church building. So in Utah in particular, there's church buildings every few blocks, it seems like. And a neighborhood is divided into a ward. So it basically keeps everybody together. So your neighbors are in the same ward. They might share a church building, and a ward might go to church at 8:00 in the morning. And then the next ward, which is the neighborhood over from you, might have church at 11:00. That's how it works. So a ward is a neighborhood, and then oftentimes wards share a church building. And then there is a stake, which is over all of the wards. And then it goes up from there.
More people cared about things I cared about. I remember.
And part of the reason that was, in my opinion, developed was so neighbors could kind of tattle on each other and keep each other in check. And they do, still to this day.
My home was sort of this open door policy. My dad would teach free guitar lessons every Sunday night to all the neighborhood kids. And then we would all watch The Simpsons together. It was a tradition at our houses on Sunday nights. It was Sunday.
Dropped on July 14th.
On the Sabbath. I remember my mom and dad started going out to eat again more on Sundays because that was a thing. So in Bountiful, we didn't do that as much, but in Salt Lake we started. So I think it was just everybody was relaxing a little bit. And the ward was great. For an example, and I use this, is my young women.
Yep. Kimberly said the same thing I did. Yep. That's exactly it. It's to keep them, it's supposed to bring closeness, but what you get is a lot of catty, backhanded, tattling on each other to the bishops and the stake presidents and the so on and so forth.
His teacher was like, I think that we should all go see Schindler's List together. It was in the theater. It's a rated R movie. And she's like, let's get permission from all your parents. We all got permission. We went. And that's how I felt about things. Like, I thought people that didn't watch rated R movies were weird. Like, it's an encouragement. We can know what we should and shouldn't watch. Like, use your brain. Schindler's List is a historical, important movie that we all need to understand. Like, of course we can watch that movie. So that's just where it felt better.
Yeah. And I just, as an observer and as someone who knows a little bit about some of these areas, my cousin Brett Parkinson, who's a radiologist, he's in this ward up in Federal Heights. I'm pretty sure the Elizabeth Smart and her family was raised in this ward area.
Yeah, it's actually my stake. Okay. So I was, but yes, it's all the same ward building.
And it's this community. It's like this community that's south. Is it south of the Utah Salt Lake Capitol? And it's right down up the hill from like the university,
just right by the avenues, east of the avenues.
By the hospital.
And there's a lot of doctors there, a lot of non-Mormons that move from out of state. It's a very intellectual area.
University of Utah.
Yeah, instead of a super conservative religious area. And it's my cousin Brett would have lots of reasons to maybe not necessarily be an active faithful Mormon, but it's just this amazing ward and this amazing community of intellectually New York Times reading, progressive, tolerant, loving Mormons that make this area very special when compared to Provo, Orem, Highland, Alpine, and Bountiful.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Special. No, I agree. Thank you for saying that and explaining it. But I also want to point out too, like, as you say, it's special. Normal is what one is accustomed to. I thought we were just normal. Like, I thought that's what Mormonism was.
Yeah.
So I want to point that out too, because when I watch Mormon stories, I have to be honest, sometimes I'm like, that wasn't my experience.
Yeah.
And then of course, the more Mormons.
Provo and Orem is a whole other ball game. Woof.
Stories I watch, the more I'm like, okay, so maybe I wasn't normal, but I grew up thinking that
totally.
That's what Mormonism is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're saying, no, that's special. I'm like,
it's a super educated ward and a thoughtful, globally minded ward.
Yeah.
Progressive. He said the word. They're not your.
And it's rare in Utah, in my opinion.
Very
agree with John, but it's true. Kyle's worked on a lot of the homes in that area.
Accepting, very welcoming, very humanistic too. They just a lot of service,
Actually, there's an OBGYN that Kyle worked for in Utah, and their family was amazing. I went over to their house a few times when he was doing that remodel, and the entire family, they had like 6 or 7 kids. Mormon family, just incredible. But he was an OBGYN, and I swear he delivered like every Mormon I knew in Utah. It was crazy. Great family though, but they lived in that area.
People think, there's educators, wealthy people, but they're very service minded, good people.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Glad you got out of Bountiful. Okay. No offense, Bountiful people.
No, they're not. Generationally, yes, more, but Pacific Islanders, a huge population of Pacific Islanders within the Mormon Church. Some African American, very few. There's a little bit of more diversity in 2025, but majority of that would come from Pacific Islanders, Hawaiian, Samoan, Tongan. And there's a whole thing behind how that happened. That's a whole other deep dive story if you've never understood that either. I actually got taught that by the missionaries from Tonga. And yeah, it's very intriguing of how the missionaries took over.
Lots of Bountiful people end up on Mormon stories, by the way. So you draw your own conclusions about what that means.
Sorry, man.
Also Davis County. A lot of Davis County people on Mormon.
Not to my knowledge, Pika, unless something has changed that I don't know about. But last I knew, no.
Listening to your story about going to Schindler's List, that just seems so foreign to me.
The quorum, I don't think. But again, I could be wrong, but I do not believe so.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I can imagine in the ward that I grew up in Davis County, that would even make it to the drawing board, So it's just interesting. I think it's fascinating that you were able to have an experience with the ward family that was just so much more progressive and open.
This is also going to depend on where you're at. So there is old school Mormon beliefs, and I'm not talking FLDS, just typical Church of Latter-day Saints that are more progressive in certain areas, that are more welcoming. Then you have your older bishops and your stake presidents and things like that, that will not recruit as much. It varies. And geographic location depends a lot. Utah, the generational, the names, the bloodlines, it's a huge freaking thing. So mostly in Utah, you have white Mormons, majority.
Minded and globally minded. And
Yeah.
I find that really beautiful.
Thank you.
And I feel like that's Mormonism because that's what you experienced.
Yeah. Again, normal is what one is accustomed to,
Our
right?
own lens and our own experiences.
Right. So that's what Mormonism was for me.
Yeah. All right. So high school comes.
High school comes. So
Kimberly, did you have any of the Tongan Crips that attended church on Sundays with you guys?
yeah. So, while I was happy to be back in Salt Lake and I had some dear friends, a couple, like I said, I was just sort of like, I just had one or two friends here and that's all I needed. Transitioning from childhood to being a teenager and woman is always hard. It was very hard for me. It was very hard for me. And I think I transitioned like really honestly from like
that was a huge thing for me to learn too. When I lived in Utah, I was like, wait a second, what?
Little girl to a woman. And so I was never like obese or anything, but I was not like this petite, cute little thing. Like I was just awkward. Maybe that's just the best way to explain it. I don't want to it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter what it was. Maybe I was adorable. I didn't feel that way. I felt ugly. I felt.
I really like John Dehlin. But again, John's just a really good guy. And I genuinely believe that he helps a lot of people with their faith crisis, especially coming out of the LDS church, because he understands it. He lived it. He's been through it. He works in the mental health arena. He's very connected, but I think he's just a very caring, compassionate human being.
Unwanted. I felt misunderstood.
And likely just thought he was doing what was, he's offered. This has been years. They said that he's offered for her to do this. So again, I find the timing of it very suspect on Lauren's part, not on John's.
Of course, yeah, you could just get into all of the hormones and everything going on. I'm sure, it all had to do with it, but like a lot of self-hate, I think started to come and insecurities. And I think I also really resented, it was very clear to me how people were treating me differently. Like when I was a child, you're just special. Like you're just loved for who you are. And as a little girl, as you grow up into a teenager, that doesn't matter anymore. All that matters is what I looked like.
Desert Rain. I moved from Utah in West Valley, Utah, close by where they just put in the new temple off of 4700. And now I am within minutes of the huge LDS temple here. It's beautiful, but it is definitely a thing here too.
And I felt that.
In fact, the missionaries knocked on my door, or actually texted me, and then came by within 2 weeks of us moving here. I was like, damn, you guys are good.
Very powerfully, that nobody cared about me anymore. All they cared about was what I looked like. And I wasn't very cute. I wasn't as cute as my friends. Maybe that's a good way to compare it. I knew that. And just a lot of, I knew that God loved me. And I almost want to say that I think that was a transitional like object for me. You know how like a baby transitions to like a blanket when they don't have their mother as much, and it's like their transitional object, and that's why they kind of get so attached to this blanket, because it's sort of replacing the mother for a second as they grow up. I think that my deep like need for God during this time was sort of like a transitional object. I had no self-love at all, but I knew
it almost feels like we're back to that again.
God loved me. And so God became this safe place for me, even though I wasn't understood and I didn't have any friends understood me, and boys weren't going to like me, and I can't wear the same cute clothes my friends wear, and I'm not understanding how to do makeup and
see, this is
make things better. God loved me. And my God was a very loving God. I've learned that too. Like everyone interprets God differently, right? God is different to every single one of us. How do we interpret God?
I believe the modification is pursuit of perfectionism. She's potentially, again, I'm not anything but an asshole with a YouTube channel, but I think she's probably got some internal things that she's not happy with, and maybe modifying her face or improving it is something that makes her feel better. I don't know.
God in my brain was a very loving God. He was a God that would laugh at me when I did stupid stuff and shake his head when I swore. Or, like, he was very loving and very forgiving. And this God loved me unconditionally. So I had a deep unconditional love from God. So even though I couldn't love myself, and I guess things got so bad that my mother started to notice, and my mother took me to a doctor, even like,
that's true.
Like she could tell I was just very depressed. So anyway, it got to the point where I wouldn't get up for school. I went to East.
So mental health issues are something she is acknowledging that she's dealt with for her entire life, it sounds like.
High school, it was 9th grade.
Which is where High School Musical was filmed, for those who don't know.
High School Musical.
Very iconic.
Yes, very iconic. I went there before Zac Efron died. I was pre-Zac Efron. And starting, like, junior high was really hard. I mean, junior high was like, just like really awkward and hard. So I think I had I was very excited for ninth grade. Also, like my old neighborhood in Salt Lake, a lot of those friends from my elementary school were going to be there. So I think I had like high expectations, and it just was off. And like I said, like I'm in this new body because everything's changing. I don't have a lot of close friends. I don't know how to meet friends. I don't have confidence, self-loathing. So my mom asks if I want to do homeschool.
Self-loathing.
And so I do homeschool for a while. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Funny enough, I never got credit for it. I only did one semester. And then I just had to hustle to make sure I graduated on time. But I got so depressed. My mother taught me for a semester and she was great. And actually I still remember a lot of things I learned, from her that semester. You did good, Mom. But yeah. So, but then I decided I wanted to go back and try it. And I think that was like actually a perfect opportunity to just take a break. Cause then I was like, okay, I'm ready.
Oh, and somebody asked earlier about her mom being on hospice. I'm not sure when her mom was placed on hospice. I don't know if actually when she was put on hospice.
And then when I went back the next semester, everyone was like, oh, where'd you go? Like, welcome back. And I signed up for creative writing. I signed up for drama. And I remember just loving creative writing. And I remember also having a hard time with the ADHD thing. I could not get good grades. Like that was also shame. Like all my friends were straight A students. I was like a straight C, and I would take the tests. They would say, put Lauren in honors English. Like Lauren is an excellent reader. Lauren, they would say that my, math, it was to the point my husband's even said like maybe you had a learning disability because like my math I would like be terrible. Like it would be like, oh, go put her in like beginning math, but my reasoning skills and reading like we would be through the roof. They're like, get her in honors English, get her in the top. And then I would go and I couldn't do it. And I remember like even like getting placed in honors English and listening, and I said, get me out of here. Like I don't want to be here. And I asked to be put in basic. So I just couldn't get good grades. And I remember thinking like, I'm gonna have a good start. I'm gonna get good grades, and like doing a homework assignment in biology. And I did it with my friend did the same assignment. She was a 4.0 student and we took it together. She got an A. And I got to see, and like, I thought that I did it. And I went to him, I was like, why? And I burst into tears. Like, so I just stopped caring about grades too. Like if I can't get A's, whether I try or like, I got the same grade, whether I tried or not. So,
there might have been an anxiety element to that as well. Just overwhelm, like total ability and horsepower, but maybe a sense of overwhelm that you maybe were given the skills to kind of manage some of that anxiety.
I just remembered a story that actually pertains to all this. I did ask to be put after I got back in ninth grade in basic English. So they put me in honors. And then I asked to be put in basic. I was like, please. And my teacher, Mrs. Lake at East High, we just did journal entries, and she said, write about childhood. And interestingly enough, I wrote about my fear. I wrote about how scared I was all the time and how it slowly left me. We turned it in. And the next day at school, she was reading my paper to all of her classes, honors English. I remember girls in my ward that were a year older in honors English were like, yeah, Miss Lake is like reading your paper. She's like, you're going to be a writer. And I just want to, she's passed away now, but that I think was one of the biggest self-esteem boosters of that moment. Like I was so depressed, and they had to put like, please put me in basic English. And then I wrote this paper that she shared with everyone. And ironically, it was about how scared I was and McGruff crime. Like, I was talking about my fear. And I think that never left me. I wish I could have thanked her for that, because I think that boosted my self-esteem more than anything. Like, okay, I'm okay. Like I'm not an idiot. I know I have some self-worth here.
Seems like low self-esteem issues has been something that she has dealt with for a long time. And I think that we're kind of seeing some of that manifest now. LA, this is from July 14th is when it dropped.
But yeah, a lot of, I had friends in high school, it was great, but
So the reason why I went back to this is because she promoted this in her 9-hour stream and told people to watch. I did. I watch a lot of John's stuff anyways. But the important dates to note here are June 9th is the date that the Proton email went out saying that they were going to expose her. June 19th is when she hears through Grayson, because Grayson spoke to a creator, that they are about to, something's going to happen and something's going to go viral. Then the TikToks really start kind of going on in July. This is filmed July 2nd, doesn't drop until the 14th. The 16th was the email to John Dehlin from some random account trying to, say you need to look into Lauren basically, and what she has done and harmed victims with. And then July 23rd is when she is in Boise and the incident happens after the Brian Koberger trial at the restaurant. So this fits into all of that. Now, this interview was something that John Dehlin had asked her to do for quite some time, that she had never chose to do. But she said because somebody approached her at a trial and said, hey, this interview changed my life, blah, blah, blah. She was like, well, maybe it's time to do my story. So she found time to go home and do this interview with John. It's 2 parts. It's extremely lengthy, but I think you get a lot of understanding of who Lauren is and some consistent themes that we are seeing even today. And I do believe that this is has a PR portion behind it too, and very performative.
I really did have a lot of self-worth issues. So.
And that is my take currently, based on the things that we know as truth from her own words. Like, all we have is her words to go on. That's all we have, is what she put out here publicly. And right now we don't have really anything.
Self-hatred, self-loathing, but God was who loved me unconditionally.
I wonder if that's a bridge to your patriarchal blessing.
Yeah. Yes, it is. So because I felt lost and uncertain and I wanted a plan, I didn't know about patriarchal blessings until my older brother had gotten one, and he got one, I think, older than me. But it was so interesting to me that it felt like a future and like a path.
Yes.
And that good things were happening. I was so intrigued. I wanted one.
And for our Never Mormons, patriarchal blessing is just an old man who you're taught in your Mormon context has a direct channel to God, lays his hands on your head, and basically does story kind of fortune telling. He'll dictate by his own consciousness several pages worth of sort of like what is going to happen to you in your life. And typical things are, you're going to, you're of the tribe of Ephraim, your choice daughter in Zion, and you'll meet a lovely man and be married in the Lord's temple, and you'll serve in the high.
Any of my Exmos in here that had temple names? That's a whole situation too.
Councils of the church, and you'll have many children, and basically all the things the church would want you to do, somehow they magically appear in your patriarchal blessing.
Yes.
But sometimes it's formulaic, and sometimes it's deeply meaningful to the people who receive it. But it's always several pages of fortune telling about what's going to happen in your life.
Exactly.
Right?
And so, as someone that grew up playing MASH, why wouldn't I want this, right?
Amy, that's a possibility. Again, I'm not trying to diagnose her with anything. I don't know if she's got mental, just from what she's saying, though, there's definitely some components here. But again, I think that this interview was set up intentionally, and she used this as part of her evidence. She claims her stalker came in there and dropped eyeballs, letting her know she was watching her. Ma'am, I mean, eyeballs, come on now. But that made it into the 9 hours. The eyeball comment from Christina on John Delin's this video. She used that in that 9 hours. I don't know. It's just weird to me.
I was 14. I asked my parents. I don't even think my older brother had gotten his yet, but I wanted it. Like, it was so interesting to me. And I just wanted it. I said, I want to do this. I went for the interview. I was 14 years old. And I remember thinking it was so special to me. I was so excited. It was like the thing. And I remember the patriarch laying his hands on my head, and, you have a scribe that makes you feel special too. Someone's like writing it down. They're going to print it for you and give it into plastic. And you're just, this is it. Right.
And we're taught it's supposed to be scripture in our lives.
Wow. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. So I actually was going to bring it here to read a paragraph, and I forgot, but I think I might have a couple of these sentences memorized. But there was one line in it that affected my life greatly. It's not the worst thing. It's not the worst, but it says, and I think what I was really worried about too was because I hated myself and I didn't think I was cute and I was ugly, and because of the roles of women, I was already wondering, like, would I ever be able to be a mother or like ever get married? Because like boys aren't going to like me. Like what is my path? Like, I just wanted to be a mother. I did want to be a mother. I loved kids. I loved babysitting. I also had other desires and goals and aspirations, but I did want to be a mom. Like, this idea of this fairy tale Mormon existence was attractive to me. So I go in there and it says, this is what it said. And that's the big thing. Wouldn't you agree, Mindy? Like, what is it going to say about marriage and kids? That's like,
you're just hanging on every word,
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah. So it tells
16.
me,
Yep.
So it says, you will be married. Yeah, I have this memorized. This is great. You will be married to a good man, a man of honesty and integrity, a man who will cherish you and whom you in return must cherish. Do not be impatient for this day to come. Let the Lord bring it at his appropriate time. Make your life rich and fulfilling in the meantime.
Wow.
So, in other words, it gave me a lot of comfort. It said I would be cherished. It said not to worry about it. And it said, be patient. Like, as in, like, you do you, Lauren, like, you're good, and just go make your life, like, it's okay. And oddly, because
I really believe that's why we see so much with the fillers and things of that nature, due to the self-esteem issues. And she's really talks a lot. But I also think that she's been beautiful. I mean, when she was reporting for ABC in those clips, she was gorgeous. Absolutely stunning. So I don't know.
We're going to learn I got married much later in life. I do think that it calmed me down a little bit. Like, it's not the worst thing for a patriarchal blessing to be said to a 14-year-old. I mean, it's weird. I know we're going to get into the patriarchal blessing later. It's going to play a little bit of a theme, but I think that helped me a little bit. Like, I think it sort of formed something in me to know that, like, boys don't like me. I don't date, whatever. It doesn't matter, because I'm going to get married a lot later than my friends, and I'm not going to get married soon. And I'm not going to probably get married even until my.
And unfortunately, she's not rare in Utah. A lot of, well, not even in other places, but within the LDS Utah spaces, there is a lot of, you will see like the Mormon housewives. Look at how their hairstyles are. There's a typical Mormon hairstyle, the fillers, the body modification, the Botox, like there is something to all of this that's a lot deeper than people realize.
Late 20s or 30s. Yeah.
And you got married to a good guy, right? I mean,
and a man who cherished me.
Yeah, okay.
Not just that, like, just like he would love me. So like someone would love me.
Yeah.
Like, I think that was really important too, because again, I didn't love myself. God loved me. Some guy was going to love me and see me for who I was, you know, because again, I'm really resenting as a teenager, all that matters is my looks. And that really upset me. Actually, that was like a very big, like feminist awakening too. It made me very angry. And maybe it was because I wasn't like the cutest teenager, but I really resented that all that mattered was the way girls looked. You know, women were sex objects, men were success objects. That's the patriarchy. And I didn't understand why people couldn't see people for who they were. And it was like a big theme in my teenager. Like, why can't people just see me for who I am? I'm a kind, wonderful person, but nobody's going to love me because I don't look perfect. And that was very hurtful to me growing up and it made me very angry. Like, I remember reading this book, Reviving Ophelia by Dr. Mary Pfeiffer. And, you know, she was a psychologist and she wrote about adolescent girls. I remember like just weeping at reading in my bed, like, okay, I'm not alone. Like, she understands me. But then I put the book away, and the world that I was living in Salt Lake City, Utah, and Mormonism and East High School wasn't that. It was, no, like, you have to conform. So I'd be like trying to conform because I wanted this Mormon fairy tale and I wanted to get married in a temple, to be a good guy and have lots of kids. And then I'm reading Mary Pfeiffer telling me that, like, yeah, you should be angry and this is hurtful and they are fucking with you. Like, you know, like this isn't fair. And like crying, going like, she understands, but then having to shut the book and say, but if I want this life, I have to just accept society's roles of what they want me to be. And feeling that and feeling sad.
I can see how that patriarchal blessing though would provide a lot of comfort to you at that time, because it seemed to address some of your insecurities that you were having, you know, and encouraging you to be patient, and also that, you know, the time would come that you would be cherished. And you were talking about maybe if others didn't love me, God loves me. But I also am guessing that it felt like God sees me. He sees what I'm going through, and yes. That was.
I don't know what she's going through. I have no idea what's going on, but I just know that as of right now, we have no proof that she has a stalker, and everything she's doing, this press junket and this press tour about alleged stalker, isn't landing. And all I am finding out is that she's got more and more,
you know, a message particularly for that time in your life. I can see how that would have been really meaningful, you know, at the time, to feel like I'm understood. Maybe I feel misunderstood in other ways, but I feel understood in this moment with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. I actually just had a memory pop up. I even wrote the newspaper. I you know, when you wrote those opinion pieces, I wrote in high school opinion piece about how angry I was that girls were, you know, judged for what they looked like.
Autumn, this is in the midst of all of this timeline of what started happening with the stalker situation that doesn't exist. So this was filmed July 2nd, aired July 14th. Again, the Proton email went out June 9th. Grayson's contact with the creator, June 19th. TikToks started making their rounds more in July.
Like, and they already published it in some of my words.
She made her police report in her vicinity on July 19th.
You submitted it to the local newspaper?
June 19th, not July. Sorry, June 19th, not July.
It was like Deseret News or Salt Lake Tribune, and then someone in the ward saw it. And I think I remember being embarrassed because there was a typo at the end and thinking, that's not what I said. But yeah.
Wow, Lauren.
So I was.
So you got feedback from somebody in your ward. Was it positive feedback, or were they like?
He said, was that you, Lauren, that wrote that? And I think I didn't know it had been published yet. I was like, oh yeah, that was me. And he was like, good job. Like, he just, you know, and then I went and looked at it, and I remember thinking I was a little embarrassed because, again, there was like a word missing in the last line that like changed the meaning of my last line. That's all I remember. But yeah, I remember so I felt a little embarrassed after they published it. I remember feeling that, but yeah, I remember because I was angry about how women were judged for what they looked like.
Wow. That's cool. Interesting.
Yeah.
This is super powerful, and it really does help explain so much of your journey. I know your fans, your audience are going to love this detail. I'm loving it. You know, so this is great. Super helpful.
Notice he says your fans, your audience.
And yeah, I love how religion at its best can give us hope, can give us comfort, can give us, you know, even confidence when we wouldn't otherwise have it.
Right. No, thank you for saying that. Like, my little boy, I try to give him some faith for confidence too. Like, sometimes when people say, oh, we all, you know, think we're so special as Mormons, you know, we do. But then I don't know if that's always bad when you're a child and you need to feel loved and comforted.
Absolutely.
You know?
It can be a scary world. I think that's where religion can shine. Yeah.
Right.
So you mentioned President Hinckley becoming prophet
Gordon B. Hinckley
or president of the church in 1995. And that's so vivid for me because I was a huge Larry King fan. And, that's around the time I'm graduating from BYU and starting to pay attention to the news. And so like freaking President Gordon B.
Anybody in here want to comment on what you think about Oaks being the president? What do you guys think? Yay or nay? Shocking or not? I mean, I think it was kind of expected. Isn't he one of the oldest or has served the longest in the presidency?
Hinckley appearing on Larry King Live, like that was like that was
like Mormon Super Bowl.
I remember that.
So excited.
Mormon Perfect Storm Super Bowl. and you become a journalist. So like, I'm all here for it. Tell us about that.
No, I remember it so well too. I just want to say, I love President.
There's a lot of weird posts on a lot of different places from her, Lindsay. There's a lot. There's so much. There's websites. There's like so much to unpack with this.
Hinckley. I know that people have their issues with him and they call him the PR prophet, which I mean, maybe it's because I love PR. Like I understand PR. Like he was the PR prophet and he did a hell of a job. Like
he was brilliant.
I loved him. And, and I think it was the first time I really paid attention to a prophet. He was such a force. And I remember him appearing on Larry King Live and he always just spoke about love. Isn't it wonderful? Isn't it positive? And 60 Minutes actually came to my ward.
Mike Wallace
came to my ward. I sang. They prepared the young women to sing when Mike Wallace showed up at our ward.
That's epic.
For 60 Minutes. They ended up cutting as I wasn't in, but they had our ward, walking around for 60 minutes. And so everyone was like excited. They're coming to our ward, 60 Minutes. Mike.
Revival. I can't be a smartass right now. But yes, he is the president of the United States. We're talking the president of the church.
Wallace.
But these are the interviews where Hinckley is being asked on international television, what do Mormons think about polygamy?
Apostle.
What about this Joseph Smith guy? What do you think about gay people? Like Hinckley, what do you think about this belief that men can become gods someday? Like the heat was coming at the Mormon church by the early to mid 90s. And whether it's Mike Wallace or Gordon B. Hinckley, Mike Wallace or Larry King, Hinckley was getting the heat and he was taking the heat. And he was making Mormons look super good.
He was. And I loved him. And he made me feel good about being Mormon. Yeah. Like I remember thinking like, this is what it's all about, loving one another and just love. It's like, we're good. Yeah. And his son was our stake president, and I knew, his grandkids, like it just felt, I remember it feeling good. I remember being a proud LDS teenager because of President Hinckley. When I heard him speak and I'm saying, isn't it wonderful? Isn't that great? And I just remember, like, I haven't gone back and dissected what he said. I'm not the Mormon stories expert. I just remember what I feel and what I thought I heard. But I remember a feeling of him just saying like, it's just about loving one another. Just be kind, just be good people. Like that's what I felt from that era. Yeah,
like when he's asked the question around like, is the Mormon church the one and only true church? He'd say something like, all we say is, check us out and maybe we can add a little bit to your life.
I know, exactly. I mean? I'm like, I love it. Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, my memory of that interview is somebody said, are you really going to tell us that God came to a 14-year-old boy, and there was a magic book buried in the ground? I'm slaughtering it. But my memory is that they're kind of asking him, in my opinion, kind of an incredulous stance. Like, you really believe that this happened? And he just smiles and said, isn't it great?
Isn't it wonderful? Isn't it wonderful?
And I think there's a part of, I think most Mormons, if they are honest with themselves, from an early age, you feel peculiar. We're taught that we're a peculiar people. And even if you're surrounded by Mormons, there's things that you're just like, oh, that's a little weird and stuff. So I think having like our prophet do this very public, interview or a series of interviews and just be out there, I just had such pride. And it made me feel less weird. Like he's like more mainstream. It's making Mormonism look like a little more cool. And so, yeah. He was a lovable guy. That was my interpretation of that time.
Yeah. Right. So he made me happy to be LDS and I think he was really a big influence in my teenager years of just feeling good, and I wasn't like, I love the church. I didn't graduate seminary. I didn't go to, I hated seminary. I didn't go, and I wasn't rigid in all these. I did get my like young women's medallions. I did what I wanted to do. And I think that's kind of President Hinckley's mentality. Like, just, isn't it wonderful? You can just do what you do.
Yeah. All right. So
Hinckley and Nelson were distinctly way different.
So I'm dying to know kind of if there was a kind of a dating aspect to your high school experience or not.
Yeah, probably more of the or not. I was very friendly. I actually had a lot of guy friends because, again, I grew up with 4 brothers. There were many boys in the ward. They were my friends, but I was the girl that actually the boys would call to talk about my friends with. But I didn't date. I don't think boys really liked me that way, but I don't know if I even had the self-esteem to allow them to like me that way either. There was a lot of self-hate. Like I actually have, I was a journal writer, but I have letters to myself saying like, you are so ugly. Like people talk about you and they just.
Amy, I thought this was very important. And again, listen to what she's saying. You can't ignore the fact that this is in the midst of her saying she has a stalker. Oh, sorry, my computer's acting up. Ugh, it wants to plug in, but it doesn't.
Yeah. All right. So I'm
one liking.
Hold on.
Boys, I don't think genuinely really liked me in high school, but even if they did, I don't think I could have allowed it because I just couldn't imagine one liking me either. So I was just not wanted in maybe their brain and my own. So, but I was
This right here. I don't.
curious. Like I wanted a first kiss. I remember wanting that, and all my friends had that, but then my first kiss was.
I'm having a hard time deciphering what's real and what's performance. What's real and genuine to her life, and what is being amplified for the poor me.
Was awful. I don't know his name. My friend, I had many beautiful friends. They were always dating, and she was dating a boy from a different school. She said, "Come with me to meet him."
No.
And I came, and he met with a friend.
She is still currently LDS.
And then they went off, which I think to go kiss. And so the friend kissed me, and I was like pushing him off of me. Like it was very aggressive, and I hated it. So like I also was like, what is this? Like I just there was and then there was a later kiss in high school that was better, but other than that, really, no dating.
We cover a lot on Mormon Stories about modesty messages.
Again, I said it last night. I don't know if everybody heard me, but as of right now, what we have is what it looks like Lauren is the one who didn't like that people were giving her the cold shoulder because of things being released from an ex-worker of hers. And again, you can handle that in a different way, like contracts, things of that nature with employees, C&D, all of that. But quickly decided to seek revenge almost, or to get in front of this. And it seems way more calculated from Lauren, how she withdrew this protection order. The protection order only was asked for right before CrimeCon, used at CrimeCon, and then magically dropped. And then it becomes content. I don't know. I got too many bad feelings about it.
To young Mormon women, was that a relevant part of your high school years?
Very much so. I was taught, just like many LDS women, that we have to control men's thoughts. That's why
here you go.
We're modest, and being
here you go, Revival.
A sister to 4 brothers. I think I even
yeah, that is something that is taught within the Mormon church too. There's actually pamphlets and stuff on it. It's actually pretty gross. But of how the women need to be modest because men can't help their desires. Ugh. Carry on.
They were taught that too. Like I saw anyway, but yeah, I was taught that we help them it's a selfless thing we do. We help them by dressing modestly, but it was very, very
You're helping them contain themselves because somehow, some way they're taught that women are objects. Fuck out of here.
Confusing because here girls are, it made me so angry. Again, it was like the girls that got the attention were those that were cute and wore tank tops and were, pretty. And
all of this. I need to be told I'm beautiful. Like, okay, we get it. You've had self-esteem issues and issues around your looks. We get it.
Wanted to be that. And at the same time, I resented it and was told not to do that. I did wear tank tops. That wasn't a thing. But
if you dress cute or the way you want to, then you feel guilty And then if you don't, then you're not dressing the way that feels good. So you lose. You kind of lose either way, right?
Yeah, it's a lose-lose. It's a double bind, a lose-lose. And so I do remember, though, one day putting on some shorts, just regular shorter shorts, and a tighter tank top, or not, I think it was a tighter t-shirt even. And looking at myself in the mirror and actually liking what I saw, like, oh, I look cute. Oh, my legs are actually.
I should send this to my best Mormon friend. And oh my God, I can't even imagine what she would say. She grew up in Utah, now lives in Boise. She'd probably have a lot to say. Oh, shit the bed. I should send it to her and have her break it down for me. She's got a hell of a story. A hell of a story. She was actually adopted. A crazy story.
Actually pretty thin. Who knew? And feeling cute and walking out, and my mother seeing me, and thinking, oh no, that is too tight. Oh my goodness. And I think what she was saying is, oh, she's not a little girl anymore. Like, oh my goodness, like just sort of startled. She was on the phone actually. And she's like, oh dear. Oh my, but like, yeah, like I finally start to feel cute, and then I'm like shocking people. So, it's, what do you do? Yeah. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. So that was also really,
I slowed it down so you guys can see how she's actually speaking.
Confusing to me. And then I remember, like I said, I went from a little girl to a woman. So I had a larger chest in high school, and I
do believe that some of this is absolutely valid, though, because I have heard many current or ex-Mormon women express these very things. And again, the competition of being that perfect wife, mother, what you look like, you've always got to, your house can be messy as hell as long as nobody comes in there. If somebody's coming, everything better be perfect, but you better look the part. You better look, as a Mormon wife, you better look put together at all times.
It was
like you have 5 loaves of bread cooked.
Year, and it was a dance. You get those dance photos before cell phones.
Sadie Hawkins
dance.
Now, was that Ladies' Choice?
It was Ladies' Choice, but it was actually a class officer photo. This was a class officer photo. So, and so I was a class officer senior year.
The purity culture within this religion is extensive and very, very, but it's not just LDS either. There's a lot of other religions. My cousins, the girls did not wear jeans. They could wear long jean skirts. They broke horses wearing long denim skirts. They were a traveling evangelistic group. All of the kids played instruments. That's what they did. They all homeschooled. They went from church to church and preached the gospel. Thankfully, my parents were divorced, so I got to do all the bad kid things. Well, I did them anyways, but yeah. Grew up with it, not just LDS. So a lot of this is where conversion camps come into play, conversion therapy.
And I had a t-shirt on that said Gap on it, and we all posed, and I put my hand on my hip and actually did duck face before duck face was a thing. Like I didn't even know. Maybe I started duck face. The kissy,
I wouldn't say they're weird. We were probably weird. I homeschooled, and it was because you're not around social, you're not, a lot of homeschooling does not have an accredited school that goes along with it. So you don't get the social interaction or around, regular society or worldly people. That's the purpose of some of it, is to isolate the children from worldly. So some of them do become what quote unquote weird. But a lot of it's just removing them or fear mongering from typical society and or them not having social interaction. A lot of homeschooling now, thankfully, does have opportunities where kids can play sports. My aunt that ran the Christian Academy forever, still in our family, you could play sports through the public school. It was an accredited Christian academy, or is an accredited Christian academy.
The kissy lips. And when it came back, it doesn't develop for a while. it looked like I was sticking like my chest out because it was a tighter shirt. And the ward boys that I was friends with told me, they're like, yeah, everybody's talking about it. They think that you were posing like that to stick your chest out. And I was mortified because like, I did not want anyone to notice me. Like, again, so damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like, and I did not want that at all. And it was so embarrassing to me to think that people were talking about a way I had posed thinking I did on purpose.
You should have seen me when I went to play volleyball with all the Mormons. I always got invited to the Relief Society and stuff because we were very active when we lived in Utah. But here comes me sleeved out in a tiny little sports bra and tank top. I was playing volleyball. I was going to sweat. They're all in their garments and they're like long sleeve workout shirts and their yoga pants. And I'm looking around like, oh, I put my jacket on. I felt so uncomfortable because the looks I got, even when I would go to Relief Society meetings with our adults or elderly missionaries, even though I would like hide behind Bonnie, they all gave me looks. I have sleeves, tattoos. I have tattoos all over.
And secretly, they love the photo. They love seeing you in your Gap t-shirt. And
it really does.
That's why the mixed messaging is just so harmful because
it really gives an example or an explanation of her seeking that pursuit of perfectionism and being very insecure. But this is pretty typical from anybody with a cult upbringing. And again, I hate to say it, but the Mormon Church is a cult. It's a huge business. But again, I can say that about a lot of religion.
For them to like point it out to you, it reveals about themselves. They're like, oh, I know.
And not even your typical religions either.
Noticed that Lauren is a human woman, young woman, and has breasts. And it's just so odd that they would shame you for that or say that you're doing it on purpose. I just think it says a lot about them as well.
Yeah. So, but you know, I think to this day, I actually just feel more comfortable in like.
So there's a part of me that does empathize with some of this because I do believe that some of this is probably valid and true. However, I think that this was very, very done intentionally for the timing of everything. And so Lauren could seem relatable and keep a foothold to her connections within the LDS church and also the ex-Mormons that follow her because of her reporting on so many Mormon crimes.
Like covering up. I often wear sports bras. It's hard. I actually recently even wore like a lower cut dress to a foundation dinner that like my husband wasn't even coming to. I tried it on for him before and he's like, wear that. You look beautiful. And like I wore it and like, so still today, just like, I just don't love. So I'm sure it comes from that.
Can I just say, I really appreciate you guys joining in on this. And so far what I'm seeing is extremely respectful conversation in the chat. Again, I'm not shitting on all religions. I'm not even shitting on Mormonism. That's not the intent. Good people are good people, no matter what religion. You choose whatever fits your life. Live your life. I am LGBTQ plus friendly, whatever suits you. I have no care. Whoever you believe in, whatever you believe in, shit, I don't care if you get probed by aliens and that's your thing. I really don't care. Live your true, authentic life that makes you happy. That's all I give a shit about. Whatever that belief system is. Now, if you are part of a cult that harms other people and shits on other people, we might have issues. Otherwise, do you.
Grooves run deep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah. So then I graduated and I went to college at the University of Utah. I was wishy-washy. I think I was very afraid.
That's my thing.
Of what I was going to do with my future. I think I felt the pressure actually of my patriarchal blessing, like make your life rich and fulfilling in the meantime. Like, what does that mean? Like, in the end, I don't know if I can have a career. And I want to have the Mormon fairy tale. Like, it was very clearly, I wanted the Mormon fairy tale. I wrote my...
To even hear that, the Mormon fairy tale, just gives me the cringe factor.
future out when I was like 9, and it consisted of like 4 kids, and it was, and we had a wishing well, and we were going to
return missionary husband.
Return missionary. I don't know if it was return missionary, but he was LDS and he was an attorney. It was not a return missionary, but an attorney.
Temple marriage?
Probably. I don't think I wrote that on this thing, but I had the layout of the house. There was a room for the pets, and we served at the homeless shelter. That was the thing. We served at the homeless shelter, and we had 4 kids, and they were good at sports. And I just, I wanted to be a mother very much so, but there was this pressure of make your life rich and fulfilling. And I don't think I knew how to do that or what that meant. And I also thought, well, men don't like successful women. So, I don't want to.
Oh, and if you're new here, when we start something, we'll go for hours. I have longevity in me. So once we start something, we watch it because I think it's important to get a baseline. I think these things are important when you're understanding where we are today, because it's became a huge upside down world. And to understand it, I think you kind of got to go back to the baseline. And this is right in the timeline of all of this chaos happening. And it's seems to play an important role where she promoted it so heavily during her 9-hour segment.
Intimidate a man. So I think I just went slowly through college because I was almost afraid of graduating and becoming a full-fledged adult that had to work 9 to 5. And so, but I started college, and, I did a few things. I studied abroad in Israel. I did an internship in Washington, D.C. I
don't know how she did a 9-hour segment scripted. That's the thing. I don't ever script nothing. It's just off the cuff, like everything up, as you can tell, like it's not laid out. It's not professional. It's just me. I got a lot of opinions, and here we are. But I don't know how they scripted out a 9-hour, and they were like so proud. We pulled it off. Didn't know how we were going to pull this off. Ugh. I think this whole thing has been produced for months though. And I think this was part of the production.
Went to Australia for 1 semester with a friend. And I remember thinking
again, you don't really get to 1 million subs in the true crime community without having some salacious scandals and bullshit. And sorry, you just don't. Most of them that have been or are up there started off pretty controversial and involved in some bullshit.
Time in the back of my mind, should I go on a mission? Should I go on a mission? And I wanted to go on a mission purely because it was what my older brothers had done. And when I was going on a mission, women weren't necessarily encouraged to go. We went when we were 21. I was over the age of 21 now, but I wanted to experience it. I wanted to know what it was like to serve for a year and a half, but I also didn't want to go to the temple, which you would have to do before you served a mission. And I didn't want to miss out. I guess I was having FOMO. Like I just didn't know if I wanted to spend 18 months away from home. So I was really uncertain. Nobody was forcing me to go. My dad.
I'm talking about the 9-hour segment. This isn't scripted. I'm sure she pre-planned what she wanted to talk about and the topics and stuff like that. Like they had that arranged, of course. But I don't think this necessarily is a scripted interview. I'm talking about the 9 hours. The 9 hours was scripted, planned out. She did say she, ad-libbed or whatever a little bit, but they had notes for the show. They talked about how it took them days to arrange it, everything of that nature. Sam, majority of them. Go ahead, the ward.
I said, don't go. He's like, you don't need to go on a mission. But it did not leave me. And so I remember like I kept sort of escaping. So I could say all those things I was doing. There were sort of like these little escapes. Like I just didn't know what to do. And I just was kind of prolonging college graduation. And I remember my friend that I was living with in Australia, she said, you know what? I like this boy. I'm going to go home and get married, but like you should go on a mission. Like, and I said, okay, I'll go. And so
I don't know how you don't think it's scripted. She had an entire pack of papers. She said that they prepped and prepared for it for days. I don't know how you don't think that, Bobby. She basically acknowledges that. And at the end, she gives Grayson a thumbs up. We pulled it off. I didn't know how we were going to pull it off. Good job. Proud of you. And she has the entire, like, they even went out of order a few times. And she was like, let me come back to that. And switches to the other. Yeah, it was scripted. Sorry. She had an entire show produced.
I was 22 when I went to my bishop and I said, I think I want to go on a mission. And my bishop was actually Elder Kevin Pearson at that time. He's a general authority now. And he was very surprised and happy. So nobody was like, you should go. Like nobody was pressuring me. He said, I was surprised.
Are you hearing Hank in the background? I don't know what you're hearing. You might be hearing Hank.
Surprised. I remember he said, oh, I didn't know that. I just thought maybe you'd want to come talk to me about something else. And that's wonderful.
He was expecting you to confess sin.
I guess so, which I'd never done. Yeah. I just remember being like so happy. And so I started the process of filling out the paperwork. I remember I filled out I was so hesitant to go. I felt like I should. And I really also didn't want to. It was weird. And it was all on my own. It was like my internal, like, should I not? Nobody was making me go. Nobody was expecting me to go. But I was like, I just think I should go. I would do ignorance is bliss. I need to go. I need to understand this. I'll have to go to the temple. It's okay.
I've actually heard quite a few people say that now she doesn't really have anything to hold her into the Exmo and the LDS spaces. And she's fighting for that because she made a lot of money off of reporting on the Daybell, Valo, Brandon. I always struggle with his last name. All of those stories she made a huge amount of money off of. And she even said the other night to Law and Crime, she says Slow True Crime Month. But people have acknowledged that she doesn't really have, until another LDS crime happens, she doesn't really have a foothold in those communities anymore, besides her being currently LDS. It's interesting.
Figure this out. Grow up a little bit. So I remember just thinking, well, I'll learn a language. I'll go to a different country. And so I remember like highlighting Australia and Korea and all these things on my mission, hoping that I would go somewhere extravagant and learn a language. And I just kept telling people I don't care where I go as long as it's not Ohio. I don't know why I said Ohio. I think it sounded like Idaho, but it was like a little bit more not Idaho. So I said, I don't care where I go as long as it's not Ohio. Like if I go to New York or Maryland, fine, but not Ohio. I don't know. I had never been to Ohio. Was it a flyover state? I don't know.
Midwest.
Midwest.
I can't wait to see Burnt Toast cover this. Barbara Streisand effect in full effect. And I hate to say this, but there's a lot of similar characteristics here to BJ. The only difference is Lauren has money and is more polished. But her and BJ are more alike than people really even want to see. And they think it's so insulting to say that to Lauren. I'm sorry, they are. They're using the same exact technique of manipulation. Religious manipulation, that's a huge factor we talk about. And how they control their audience. It is. She does it too.
You want coast,
right.
Coastal, East Coast, West Coast, international.
Yeah. So I as I was going, so before I submitted my papers, this is an interesting story. I want to tell the story about Elder Kevin Pearson. So you have to have a few interviews before you go on.
Ward, I think that's a natural acknowledgement. You do true crime cases, but I think you can acknowledge that anybody that covers, even by proxy, I cover true crime because I'm covering the locales that cover them. And unfortunately, we become kind of familiar with the cases that they are covering usually. So I think there's an area that ethically profiting off of pain is going to happen. Like these are people's stories. I think it's how it's done. But I think that's rational. I mean, it's what's happening. I think it just depends on how you go about it and how it's done. I don't have a problem with people being monetized. That's not it. I'm monetized. What I have a problem with is the manipulation for that, or the connection to the victims. Like she got really heavily immersed with the families and the victims, and she threw that leverage the other night in that 9 hours. She used that numerous times to demand loyalty almost from the victims that she had done so much for. I don't see you ever doing anything like that. So I absolutely, it's the truth. Does that make sense? It's the truth. I think ignoring that, there's a way. Yeah, there's definitely a distinction. But anymore, I mean, there's somebody I'm trying to think. Kimberlea. Is that, I don't know how you pronounce her name, to be honest. She does mostly like cold case stuff. She's incredible at storytelling. I don't think I've ever seen her do an active case. I'm trying to think of one that I don't think I've seen her ever do an active case. She brings awareness old cases to the forefront, tragedies that have been through the trial process. She's not attaching to the victims and using that relationship to garner some sort of leverage. Bailey Sarian, another one. Yep. Oh, absolutely, Ward. But that's the part. They cause controversy, and anymore, it's that relationship with the victims, and then they play the divide and conquer. You know that. I mean, that's what they do
on the mission. And so I don't,
and that's what she did too. If we want to admit it, she used JJ in her 9-hour emotional driven diabolical rant accusing people of crimes.
I don't know if this was my second or third or whatever. It was like I was submitting the papers. It was the last one. And so he asks me all the questions to make sure I'm worthy to go on the mission. I don't know what they all are. You might remember, but one of them is, do you keep the law of chastity? And I said, yes. And he just stopped and he looked at me and he said, Lauren, he goes,
Amy, I tell you what, I have more hope now in 2024 and 2025 than I ever did in 2023. In 2023, I felt like I was fighting a battle that would never even be recognized. And I think more and more people are starting to demand something change because of creators weaponizing the court systems and replacing the victims and using the victims and so on and so forth.
By the way, if any bishop or stake president or leader ever asks you another question about the law of chastity beyond what I just asked you, he shouldn't do that.
Wow.
And I go, okay. And then he goes, I don't know why I just told you that, but I just want you to know. And I said, thanks.
Wow.
And, I know he's rising up there in leadership, and, people have good and bad things to say about him, but I'm grateful that he said that to me.
A mention of me? Oh God. Cece Suarez. She's an MLM creator, but she is anti-Katie Joy. And her and others thought I was Katie Joy when I first started, and they hate Katie Joy, or they thought I worked with Katie Joy. I don't know. She's connected to a bunch of the antis, but she's a anti-MLM creator.
And I think it says two things. I think it means that he knows there's issues.
Right.
Like he knows that there are leaders out there that might push limits.
Asking creepy, detailed sexual questions to young or, youthful girls or boys.
Yeah. But I felt it was a moment of somehow really caring and wanting to tell me that.
That's super nice.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Around what year is this?
Early 2002-ish.
Okay. Can I ask you a quick question about that? I think that's the year Elizabeth Smart was abducted.
Yes.
And I ask you that for two reasons. One is you're a true crime person. And the second is she was living in your stake, if not in your ward.
Correct.
Did that story hit your radar at all? And if so, did it influence your true crime development?
She was taken the day I got my mission call. So it's a very, very profound memory. So I was obviously older than Elizabeth. I did not know her personally. But yeah, she was in our stake. She was
which for Mormons, never Mormons.
That's a whole interesting situation too, with Elizabeth Smart and Ed Smart and the foundation, and then the ties into Tim Ballard, and when they were supposedly doing a merger that never existed, but the news reported on it in Utah, made a big deal out of it. OUR, Operation Underground Railroad, got a bunch of funding because they expected this merger because it went headlines news. So the two organizations were supposed that never happened, and they never corrected it.
That's your neighborhood in Utah, like
and
a couple streets down, right?
Yeah, and this stake is very tight knit. It's you talked about it already. We go to the same building, we overlap, like we are all close. I know your cousin well. Like this is a very sort of united stake.
So the Smart home is a couple streets down from your street, right?
Yeah, and we all knew right away in that morning. And I wasn't supposed to get my mission call this day either. It came a week early, so it was just shocking. It was absolutely shocking. We all knew that morning.
I've never heard that either. Y'all, Nana's not drunk that she's ever mentioned me. I have no idea. It likely was probably something to do with Katie Joy stuff, I'm assuming. You would think by now that would have proven itself to be dumb and over, but some people.
I mean, news spread like wildfire. It was so shocking and heartbreaking. And it was like my worst fear as a kid became another little girl's fear in my neighborhood.
Reality.
Yeah, it became her reality.
Yeah.
And I was like, what in the world? And nobody knew. And I remember.
I don't think she's bad. I don't watch her. Actually, I knew of her MLM content before I ever even heard the name Katie Joy, I knew who Cece was because I used to sell LuLaRoe. So there's that. Again, LuLaRoe is the only person I've ever gotten a C&D from. And she did content exposing LuLaRoe, which absolutely is an MLM. I don't really have any take on her personally. She was just connected to the antis.
Well, first I got my call, but like, yeah, while I waited, I remember like babysitting for free while everybody searched, and like all of us were doing whatever we could. But on the day she went missing, it was this really, it was so shocking to all of us. And yeah, my worst fear was this little girl's reality. I remember thinking like, where is she? Is she going to be okay? We were all preparing to go to a prayer meeting at our ward. We were all gathering to pray for Elizabeth, not believing that this happened. And I learned that my mission call had arrived.
Thank you.
It wasn't supposed to have come that week. It came a week early. And my parents told me, by the way, you've got a mission call waiting on the table. So
yeah, I'm not your typical YouTube creator that sugarcoats or like panders to an audience. I just say what I want and take it for what it is. I'm not going to, no. I've been called the turtle boy on here, the female turtle boy. I don't know if I like that, but it is what it is. I've been assumed I was Katie. I've been assumed to be a lot of people. I'm just me. Okay. I'm an asshole with a YouTube channel.
I was going to go meet my family at the ward. I wasn't home, but I decided to run home first. And I looked at it at the table and everyone was getting ready. And I just grabbed it. I said, I'll meet you at the ward. And I ran up to my room, my bedroom, to open it alone.
No, we're talking about somebody else. We're talking about Cece Suarez.
Alone really quickly because there was going to be no opening party. Like that just felt inappropriate. It was so sad. So I grabbed it. And things that don't age well, I turned on an R. Kelly song. But nonetheless, I opened it and I read, "You have been called to serve in the Cleveland, Ohio mission." And I actually thought it was a joke. I thought, this is a joke. I'd heard of this. Everybody knew I didn't want to go anywhere but Ohio. Like, this is a joke. It came a week early. Someone sent me a fake.
Jay played a video of him today. I admit I don't really know much about him, but I did crack up at his response to Lauren today. I don't know much about him though.
Call and
I've heard Betty yell about him. I've heard things about his behavior and all of that stuff. I don't know much personally about the guy. I know he's done some egregious things. But yeah, it's all new to me. I know what I've heard has been very problematic. So there's that.
I'm like, this is real. And I remember just in that moment, and I had to hurry because everyone was already at the ward. I remember just thinking like, I don't want to go. I'm not going. Like, this is, oh my gosh, no way. Like, this is a joke. And I threw it and I ran down the stairs because I had to get to the ward.
Shocking, huh? Always a victim. Seeing a pattern?
And I sat right next to my mom in the pew and she said, "Did you open it?" And I said, "I did." And she said, "Are you okay?" And I looked.
Peg, are you asking me my personal take on Annie Elise? I can't stand Annie Elise. Absolutely cannot stand Annie Elise. There is no sugarcoating on that for me at all, if that's who you're asking about. Annie Elise, when the Sound of Freedom, when they were astroturfing theaters and doing that whole promotional shit and bumping creators with false fucking numbers and shit, Annie Elise got in on that shit. I don't know if Annie Elise is Mormon, but she's connected to a lot of the fucking fuckery within the LDS circles and shit like that too. And her ad reads enough are disgusting for me. She did an ad read of a brutal stabbing and a woman unalived, and I think she was in bed. And then the next ad inlay was a sheet set or something. I mean, just fucking filth.
And I saw where I was and what we were doing and how I was safe and blessed. And I said, yes, I am so happy. And that was it. And that was that moment. Like, it was just, I'm supposed to go. And then I just chalked it up as a humbling learning moment that I needed.
Come on now, you guys. Maybe you should ask me for a list of people I like. That's probably easier. I don't like anybody. I just don't. I really don't. I mean, there's a few people here and there, but I don't really like true crime. The mainstream true crime, the active cases that they latch on to, the misinformation, the no going back and correcting shit. They don't give a fuck. But I guess that's what they got to do to get these big numbers, right? Just throw caution to the wind and tell a good story about somebody else's worst time. I don't know. It just is grimy to me.
Accept. But I want to tell Ohio that I actually loved my mission and I loved, and I mean this sincerely, serving
no one
stateside, because I actually don't know if I would have been great at learning a language, and it allowed me, and I'm jumping ahead because there's some mission preparation, but it allowed me to like just focus on the people and myself and some doctrine that I wanted to understand rather than struggling with language. So I also am a believer that we need to understand more about what's going on in our own country sometimes than we need to understand what's going on in the world. I shouldn't say that, but I think that it allowed me to open up my eyes to some things going on in my homeland, you know, that I needed to understand the people and the world a little bit better by understanding my own country more. But I loved Ohio.
My homeland.
Well, you know, Never Mormons will be interested to know that the Cleveland, Ohio area and the mission that it covers is sort of a central geographical location for some really important Mormon history, because it's one of the areas where the early church settled, you know.
Very. And so when I'd opened my call and saw Cleveland, Ohio, I didn't understand that quite yet, because I guess that sisters.
Hughes, in all reality, you want to hear where I end up? My algorithm is a trip at times, because when I'm not like watching stuff that I'm doing content on, it's Peterbilt trucks, Freightliners, mini cows, farms, ranches, because the other side of me is I go to Washington and play with mini cows, micro mini Scottish Highlanders. If you go back on my page, there's videos and a ton of shorts with our best friend's ranch. So that's kind of the other side of me. Pimple popping. I don't really watch a whole lot of true crime content. I can tell you I don't like AWP. Jared Lysick, can't stand that motherfucker. Yeah, insert name, I probably don't like him, and I probably have a reason why.
I get called to the visitors center in Kirtland, Ohio, got a different call. I was pure proselyting. This is when they divided it. And then, so mine didn't say Kirtland. So I didn't know that. Someone had to teach me. That's the Kirtland, Ohio mission, which is a very, as you point out, big deal. The irony to that, though, too, is right before I got my call, the internet was in full force. And
Jay has really, like, I don't know what, if you guys have seen a switch in her too, but the way she has been like, wow, what are they doing? That's gives me a lot of hope. Like she's pulling it back a lot as far as like the people that she knows, because she knows she's been around forever. When she said that, she told the story of Duty Ron and Oni today, and I was like, holy shit. Like she's got a lot of history and knowledge, and it's when she pulls it back and like tells more of the stories and like how she knows people and the connections, it's mind-blowing to me.
My friend and I, the one I was in Australia with, we hated polygamy. We loathed the idea of polygamy, and we started Googling polygamy. And I remember being on the phone with her, like, you know, we were both on a phone. I don't know, it might've been our new cell phones. Cell phones were a thing. The internet was a thing.
I didn't mean to kill true crime for you. I really didn't. It's just the reality of what most of these people are doing. Not all of them.
And we were Googling, she was at her home, I was at mine, and we were Googling polygamy together. Just like, oh my gosh. So what is it? And learning that Joseph Smith was a polygamist at that moment, and that I hadn't been taught that in church. Like it had always been taught that Brigham Young was the polygamist, and, you know, going across the plains, oh, Joseph Smith is a polygamist. What? And I was preparing to go on a mission. I hadn't received my call yet. And she had said to me, Lauren, I'm going to get married, but like, you got to go on a mission and figure this out for us. Like, what is this? I said, I know. Dude, right?
Like, return and report.
No pressure.
Yeah, return and report. Figure this out for us. I was like, I got you. I got you. And so
it was shocking for me that she went on a mission.
So interesting to realize I got my call where polygamy started.
Yeah.
Like this, I mean, this was so interesting. So
this is why it just shocks me that she's still a part of the church. Like she knows all of these things. She understands how this works and the church's footholds. And for her to go on in the second part of this and say that she's proud of that, it's a mind fuck for me. Once you see it, once you report on these things, once you acknowledge and recognize what it is, how do you live with 1 foot in and 1 foot out? It's got to just be a fucking back and forth. I don't know the mental, emotional games that she's playing with herself here, but there's no way. There's no way you can recognize what all of these things are, the harm that is done and hid behind, and still have respect. Like,
I literally get a call, the place polygamy began, and this is a big part of sort of some faith journey for me. I was like, no way. And when you show up on the mission, the first thing you do is you go to the School of the Prophets and you dedicate your mission, where Joseph Smith taught the word of wisdom and all this stuff. And they take you to Kirtland and you learn about your ancestors that are there. And then you learn.
Did your algorithm go from bears to Becky? I mean, Rar.
Learn, you know, that you're not allowed to tract in Kirtland. You know, I never actually served in Kirtland because of all the tension, and it was the most interesting mission for me, though.
Just to give a tiny bit of detail, it was in Kirtland, Ohio, that Joseph Smith
Oh my God.
had sex with domestic.
Jay cracks me up, though. Jay cracks me up. I yelled at her once today. I was like, what about me, Jay? No, she does crack me up, though. Her giggle when she gets going, you can't help but just freaking giggle with her. Jay doesn't pretend like these guys. I have heard Jay, one of the only ones that admits to getting shit wrong. She'll correct it and walk it back. And she'll rewatch shit she did and go, oh God. Oh, I've never seen 99.9% of these other people do it ever.
So basically there was a teenage girl who was working for him in the home as kind of a domestic help. Her name is Fanny Alger. And what history now tells us is that he basically had an affair with.
And I kind of feel a little bit validated that she's starting, that some of these people that do true crime are starting to realize there's a whole other world out here of the true crime creators that are the reason why some of us exist, of like, hell no, this ain't gonna fly.
Her while she was in the home. And later it's been characterized as his first polygamous marriage. But at the time, it was just understood to be an affair by everyone, including Oliver Cowdery, Joseph's assistant. Yeah, and right. So this is all, this all took place in Kirtland, Ohio, which was where you were called to. So I just want to give a tiny bit of, this is the land of Fanny Alger and Joseph Smith.
Right. This is Kirtland. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So to go back actually before my mission, as I'm preparing to go to my mission, I have to go to the temple. That was the thing I was avoiding. I did not want to go to the temple. I had no desire to go to the temple. In fact, I felt it was a sacrifice I was doing. I wanted to go on a mission. I didn't want to go to the temple, but I had to do the temple. I didn't want to wear garments. I didn't want, I just didn't want to go. So I didn't go until the week before I entered the mission training center in Provo. And
MTC.
I took temple prep classes from a wonderful couple in my ward. They were great. They sort of said, it's great. It's just is what it is. And they're wonderful. And I went to the Salt Lake Temple, and I actually liked Washington Anointings. I thought it was actually really lovely or sweet. I don't know the history of it or whatever, and I know a lot of, it was whatever it was that day. I remember thinking the blessing was sweet. It was oh, it's kind of pretty. But that was about it. My mom was like, do you want me to get you a temple dress before you go? Do you want me to get you temple clothes? I actually said, no, the dresses are ugly. I don't want to do my laundry. I don't want this stuff. I'll rent, we're good. No. And I waited, like I said, it was 3 days before I entered the MTC, just in case. I think there's if I change my mind on my mission, I won't have gone to the temple. And so I went. It was a miserable kind of a day. I was actually on my period. The last thing I want to be wearing is white. But I go, I think of him just a little distant. I have a migraine. I remember my older brother taking me up to the circle, and I remember appreciating that because he was trying to the prayer circle, because I think he was just trying to say, hey, I'll take you and I'll help you. It was a kind gesture. I still see that as a kind gesture today. But I did not like the temple. And
can I ask you a question about that, Lauren? Yeah. I think so much of our practices in Mormonism sometimes are modeled by our family or our parents or something. Were your parents temple attending, or did they? Some families are just so much about the temple. They plan their.
I find this to be so intriguing. Some of you might find this to be boring, but this is such an important piece of where we are with her today. And it's in the midst of her having this stalker and all these people targeting her and going to release stuff. She goes and does this interview. It is so telling to me of what we are seeing right now. And again, it leads me back to, I believe that this was intentional. I believe that the timing of this was absolutely intentional on Lauren's part.
Family vacations around going to see temples. Okay. Yeah.
So that probably makes sense. Yeah. Temple wasn't
Yes, I'm validating Christina's thoughts, because I believe the same.
A huge
wasn't a big thing
in our house.
Okay.
And they were very big on serving in other ways.
Sure.
We were very active. But yeah, the temple wasn't a big thing for my parents.
I'm not surprised based on what you've told us, kind of about your upbringing.
Yeah.
But I just find that interesting.
Yeah.
That you had kind of an aversion to it even before you went.
Yeah, that's true. That makes sense. And I've actually never thought about that. But yeah, no, they didn't go a ton. That wasn't a thing I remember. I don't ever remember my parents going to the temple. I'm sure they did, but I don't remember that at all. Yeah. So
you waited until 3 days before, and you did the Washington Anointings. Your brother took you to the prayer circle. Do you have other memories of that day?
Just that you didn't love it.
Just that I didn't love it. I think I've even just blocked a bit of it out.
Yeah.
But I remember the garments. It was the garments that I really didn't want to wear. And so I do remember walking more than the temple. I remember the aftermath, walking into my house, walking in my bedroom, taking off my clothes and looking at myself in garments in my full length mirror. And I just started crying. And I walked out into the hallway, just in my garments, into my parents' bedroom where I knew my mom was sitting. She was working in there. And I looked at her and I just burst into tears, and I fell on her. It was very dramatic, but I fell on her bedroom floor in the fetal position and just started crying. And I said, I hate these.
So this interview was recorded July 2nd, 2025, and it aired the first portion on July 14th, 2025. Now, again, big dates of notice are June 9th. The Proton email goes out. June 19th is when Grayson has the conversation with the creator that says something, prepare for something big. There's a bunch of people that want your head on a platter. That was the 19th. She makes the police report on June 19th. Then July, there's TikToks that are made. This is recorded July 2nd, airs the 14th. The 23rd is the Boise after the Koberger sentencing issue. This is all within that. And this had been an open-ended offer from John Delane, it sounds like, for her to come and do an interview of this sort for a long time. And she chose this of all times. Seems a little off to me. But I think we're learning a lot about maybe her mindset through all of this. And I do believe that parts of it are real. I believe that there's validity to some of what she's saying here. But I think this is definitely, she saw this would be beneficial, and that's why she promoted this exact interview in her 9-hour production.
And she was really sweet. She was really sweet. She's like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry. I know you'll get used to them, and maybe I can help you. She didn't shame me or anything, but I just remember that moment. Yeah, it was probably very dramatic, but that's how I felt. Mm-hmm. And when I went to the MTC, I told my MTC companions, I don't like the temple. I don't want to go. I had to go once in the MTC, and they were really sweet. They're like, well, we'll stay with you, and it's okay. And then I didn't have to go on my mission because there was no temple except for the Kirtland Temple, which belonged to the Community of Christ. In fact, I actually, my heart sunk a little bit that when they sold it to us. I actually really loved that it belonged to the Community of Christ.
I hesitate on Lori Hellis just because other people outside of Lauren that I have kind of interacted with a little bit in the past have had issues with her too. I don't know enough there yet to know why or what, but there's so many connecting factors here and so many damn rabbit holes. And I only have one brain with like 2 working brain cells at this point. And I'm still trying to kind of keep up on the freaking roach infested BJ. So there's that. Oh, by the way, can we take a break for a minute? T, I didn't even see that. I am so sorry. If you're still here, if you're on your walk and I'm in your ear, thank you so much for the 10 gifted memberships. I'm so sorry, T. You guys, I'm terrible at checking that stuff, but here you go.
Am I right?
No.
Do you guys get my drift? Do y'all get when I'm smoking? Do you pick up what I'm putting down? Like, just because
are you down with the get down? That's the other tragedy pimp. And here, just a reminder.
Whoops, you're in a cold. 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 Giving grandma COVID and whoops, you're in a cold.
Whoops, you're in a cold. Whoops, you're in a cold. Hey, Zane, good to see you.
But I didn't have to go on my mission, so I just never really gone to the temple much. There you go. That's it. I'm not a temple goer. Never have been. And yeah. And I stopped wearing my garments, I think, a couple years after my mission. So I just decided they weren't for me. Anyway, so I get on my mission, and one thing I loved about my mission, again, is it allowed me to really learn and study all of this deeper doctrine that I had no idea about the church. For me, the church was simply, God loves us, we'll be together forever. This, I knew the basics of the kingdoms, but I really got to delve into the deep doctrine. I got to learn a lot. I read the Doctrine and Covenants multiple times. I love the Old Testament. That's my book. I actually didn't read the Book of Mormon very much in my mission. I'm not a
That's interesting to me in itself.
big Book of Mormon reader. And one interesting thing though was there were Community of Christ members. That's the Reorganized Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. People that wanted to learn. There were Community of Christ members that wanted to learn. There were Rigdonites. So oftentimes we were teaching about Brigham Young and not Joseph Smith. There was a wide range of Mormonism. And there was one couple that we were teaching who were Community of Christ members, but they were actually Reorganized Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints members and disliked how the Community of Christ had given women the priesthood because they wanted everything to be just like Joseph Smith. They wanted everything to be pure Joseph Smith.
Look.
And so they got into the fact that they were interested in getting baptized, and we were teaching them. It was going really well. And they also got into the fact that they were upset that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was saying that Joseph Smith was a polygamist because they did not believe Joseph Smith was a polygamist. They believed that it started with Brigham Young. And I thought, here I am full circle. I'm like, oh, here come my Google search results. And so we said, well, you know, we really do think he was, according to some history books. So what did I do? So we left, and
this is why this feels so disingenuous that she's still LDS.
we scheduled another appointment to come back. They enjoyed talking to my companion and I, and we're really trying to search. And so I said, we have to go to the church building. We have to go get into it. It was a little branch. And I said, it was Chardon, Ohio. And try to get the list of Joseph Smith's wives and bring it to him. Like, that's what I'm thinking. Like, that's probably like the last thing they wanted, but I'm sitting there thinking, like, I've got to do this good deed for them.
That'll convince them.
You're going to find it in the church library?
Oh.
Sure, let's take a little sideways. Let's do that because I need a mental break as is. I'll give you a little history lesson on BJ. Okay. So BJ is another quote unquote true crime creator. Actually, she's a shit show. She's got a little around 18,000, 19,000 subs. She exploits the shit out of tragedies. Kylie Rodney, Sebastian Rogers, anything active that she can speculate and be a shit show about. Let me play this one. Here you go. Here's just a little reminder.
I'm gonna if
this is not an accurate avatar. This is an older clip from June of 2024. This is not what she looks like at all. I don't know who this picture or who this person is that she was using in her avatar at that time, but it is not her.
So this is so psychotic. I'm literally gonna have to go sit in my car and hide from my kids to go live because of her and people like her. They will sit there and take you can sit there. How can you judge parenting?
I do like Jordan and McKay too. Yep. Thank you for being a member for 8 months, Mary. When she gets to Elizabeth Smart and Joseph Smith, Google wasn't a thing yet. Stitching filled me in today. Rowena, there's just so much here. Thank you so much for the support. It's wild. This shit's wild.
When you don't even know me, you don't know nothing about my home life. You don't know anything about me. You don't ever see us. You've never met me a day in your life. You've never spent an hour around me. And to sit there and act like you just are here every day and you know it all.
So for those of you that don't know, she has a household that is extreme, and I'll give you a view into her partner. That was her child you just heard. So she gets really mad because we play clips of her that you can hear her minor children in the background. And then she claims that we're all doing these things to her kids. And she's had CPS called on her because of her behavior, but she blames it on the internet. Her other half grabbed a weapon, intoxicated, flashed it on TikTok because his fifis were hurt. They're irresponsible from top to bottom, but she calls true crime her career. He doesn't work. It's a complete shit show.
Britt, please get a protection order. I'm getting one, Ange. I really am. Listen. I'm getting one.
She, along with 9 others, 10 in total, filed an injunction in Pennsylvania on October 18th, 2024 against a YouTube creator by the name of Granny's Watching and a TikTok creator by the name of Barbecue Lady. They claimed that they were RICO and racketeering and had an enterprise on YouTube of 50 plus John and Jane Does that were helping to target this group of people. Bullhorn Betty, BJ, Dog the Bounty Hunter, a parent of a missing child by the name of Seth Rogers, Tony Mathis, his national spokesperson. It was the first anti-SLAPP ruling in Pennsylvania. It is currently in the appeals process. Her and that group also filed for emergency protection orders against these creators, which were denied because they should be. It's ridiculous. But then this one turned around recently and just went and attempted to get 2 more restraining orders on creators that have never even set foot in her state or threatened her in that manner. But she actually had 2 weeks ago, she had an appointment. Somebody scheduled an appointment with LDS missionaries to come to her home. She called the cops on the missionaries. And then she comes online and says that, oh, they had something happen at their house again. Didn't tell anybody or wasn't honest with anybody that it was missionaries and that she called the cops, just dangled it like something really bad was happening to her. Victimhood 101, 102, up to 1,596 is her playbook. And they are extremists, more in line with like doomsday prepper type shit mentality. Paranoid, fear-mongering, Christian nationalists.
Because like she's just not, she's already said she's not going to stop. Listen to what she says here. She's about to say,
Chat, please fill in the gaps of what else I'm missing. There's a shit ton. It's so much to understand.
something that I'm like, this girl don't even, she has no fear of anything. Nothing. Some things because I cannot with the lies, the dangerous lies.
I agree. Your lies are incredibly dangerous.
And all of the threats that I'm receiving, which is things that have already happened to me as it is. Every single thing that is going on right now is the reason that we are where we are right now.
She does the art of circle talk, and she serves a buffet of word salad. You are where you are because of your choices.
People are saying they're calling the IRS tomorrow.
Well, a little interesting side note I think many people have forgotten about.
A lot of money.
I'm petty and vindictive. Does anybody know her real name? I've been more than happy to call the IRS about some of her trickery.
So she complains that people were in the comment section saying that they were going to call the IRS. Meanwhile, here's BJ on the top, the creator right here. And that is her mod that you are hearing ask for somebody's personal information to call the IRS on them. We're speaking on Barbecue Lady after she got her C&D.
Yeah, but Nick is stated that this is criminal, so it's going to be a lot more than 25,000.
She thinks we aren't.
Oh, and the people that she got aligned herself with, like Nick the Hat, is an adjudicated fraud.
Filing, but we told her to call our lawyers by tomorrow. Wow.
It's amazing how people forget how things actually have gone.
I have a feeling she's looking at this as a money opportunity. Wow.
Of course, with Beej, it's always about the money.
Like, I don't want to. I'm not like a vindictive person. Like, I don't want to.
Yeah, I'm not
like
calling. I don't call
you know-
anything on anybody. I don't do that either.
Yeah.
I guess, once again, here's a clip of your own words, BJ.
The PayPal pools, that's for people that need help. And
She's been a shit show online since like 2021.
she just completely abuses that what do you call it? She abuses that service. And we called. I'm not even gonna lie. I called with some people that were my friends at the time back in the day, and we reported her for abusing the system. And because we read the terms and policies on it, and it stated if you've had a record or you've been convicted of theft or fraud of any sense, you are not allowed to have a PayPal pool in your name, nor is anyone else allowed to have one for you.
She goes real life.
And we told PayPal what her charges was, and they said, yeah, she's not allowed to have one, but they never stopped it.
Them's your own words, BJ.
I don't want to like take her business away from her. Like, you know what I mean? But
No.
I wish she would just.
Could you just
make better
stop?
choices.
Nobody wants to ruin you, lady. But could you just stop? Seriously.
Yeah.
All you gotta do is stop.
Probably should have taken your own advice a long time ago.
They're calling my social services to report me for welfare fraud that I don't even receive.
She's another one of these that doesn't have proof. It's always they, them, y'all did it when she knows exactly who did it, but it's more beneficial. She's got a major jealousy issue with channels that are bigger than hers. She's a whole mess.
They're calling CPS again. Y'all were doing everything that y'all were doing is 100%.
Yes.
But it's been put in a folder. All of your threats have been put in the folder.
Does the folder magically produce evidence if you put in a blank sheet of paper? asking for me.
CPS shows up back at my door again tomorrow. If you call and report me, it's all, everything that y'all calling welfare, calling the IRS.
Did you forget that you hosted a panel where one of your mods suggested calling the IRS on barbecue?
Calling CPS, all of that's already happened. Y'all have done that to me already. Remember?
She knows exactly who did those things to her.
I've had 4 CPS visits. Y'all have already reported me for welfare fraud to the Medicaid office. That happened 2 months ago.
Making allegations of they, them, y'all are never going to work out for you.
And you've already reported me to the IRS, which I do my taxes in February every year. So I'm just going to let you know now, all of that is documented.
Per usual, you showed no proof.
Screen names and all. Everything's documented. It's all proof. And all this is going to do is go to the judge and prove why I'm having to do what I'm doing right now.
Well, I guess that was another lie.
They're saying that they're coming to my town. All these subscribers of Clue and Cletus to say they're going to my town. They're all going to show up here. Clue has threatened to come to my house tonight.
Once again, no proof.
So all I want to do for right now is to explain to y'all what's going on, because the lies, all you have to do is research.
You probably should have done that.
I cannot believe people are just taking something and running with it. Even my own subscribers are believing lies.
Maybe you should have stopped gaslighting them and told them the truth.
Please. Absolutely, teaching. Everything's documented. All live streams have been downloaded and saved.
It's all in the magic folder.
Downloading and saving for a long time. Listen, I have been going through harassment and stalking for a year now.
The courts have proven that to be a lie.
For a solid year. Okay?
True.
There's not one person in my shoes who would not do something to try to protect themselves at this point.
I wouldn't wear any shoes from your house. I don't like roaches.
Period.
Maybe your fellow liars.
It's a no contact order. I'm going to read it, Summer. So I have filed with my courts.
Sound familiar?
Orders for no contact for my protection.
The only thing that has been putting your physical safety at risk is you nodding out on stream night after night. You have tried unsuccessfully 3 times now to seek ROs on people in this community. A lot of people forget about the emergency petition for protection that you and your cohorts filed in Pennsylvania against Granny and Barbecue that thankfully the judge dismissed. However, that wasn't good enough for you. You continued on to now file one against Clue and Cletus, and thankfully, once again, the judge said dismissed. You have been denied.
Yeah, I am. One more.
Okay.
He
one more
disarmed by his
little
devices. Because I have tried and asked these people to leave me alone.
Oh, and she's never sleeping until days later. It's always the internet, StreamYard, tree fell, some fucking bullshit when she just is nodding off.
Multiple times. They go live about me every single day. It never stops.
That will never be grounds for a protection order.
And all I did was go to my courts, and I have filed orders for no contact. That is it. That is all.
To which you couldn't even show up on time.
It is not a sexual anything. And these subscribers immediately threatening to call my caseworkers. You know,
she raised money over $8,000 from her subs to get an attorney. She started that on July 9th of 2025. She started this legal fund grift. She finally sent C&Ds. They were drawn up September 10th, mailed out 7 days later. That's all she has shown. It was 3 horribly done C&Ds. One of those went to somebody she's already in litigation with. And then the next attempt was she filed for these ROs against Clue and Cletus, which were free. And she told her subs her attorney was helping her with it. Her attorney was there. He no-showed. And she had a DV advocate, according to her partner who busted her out, help her fill out the forms. But she's had elaborate stories of all of it.
Threatening to call and report me to CPS, threatening to call and report me to the police for falling asleep on my lives, threatening to call my, they're saying that because I got $8,000 for an attorney, I'm committing welfare fraud. I don't even get welfare. They've already reported me for that. But like I said, all of these threats is more proof to the judge, every bit of it.
She also has reading comprehension skills, and everything is a threat. I guess that didn't work out how you planned, huh?
And then now you got all these people saying they're coming to my town. You're just helping me get more protection for myself. Thank you.
Trust me, no one wants to visit FUPA Flaps. So you had to Google the term FUPA one time because I made a title said FUPA on the loose.
So let me read this to you guys. It's unbelievable to me. I'm seeing some of my own subscribers. There's on YouTube. Whether I'm here or I'm not, there needs to be some changes. People should not be so quick to run with things.
That's a you problem.
You should not be so quick to run with the lies. At least find out the truth before you start calling to have somebody's head.
Oh, in 3 years, she's lost upwards of 180 to 200 mods. Maybe you should start taking your own advice since you seem to miss the memo.
I never accused that man of sexual assault, and I have not filed a single false report against anybody.
No, BJ, you just didn't fill out the form correctly in any capacity.
I'm going to read this to y'all. Anybody who comes in here and you're just going to be blocked. I'm not acknowledging anything. I have nothing to say about Cletus or Clue other than the fact that everything is documented. Everything. It's all documented. All of your threatening comments are documented. All threatening remarks are documented.
Then she went on to beg somebody to send her the videos because she didn't have them where she made these claims.
It's all, going to be played for the judge for my protection.
She didn't even show up to court on time. Things that never happened.
And you waited this long.
Well,
I did, Natalie, because I was hoping that it would, it would go away on its own, and it doesn't. It never does.
Maybe you. Which one, Law Nerd Amber, Lauren or BJ? And Flo, it's good to see you. Thank you for being a member for 8 months. You should stop weaponizing our legal system.
It just doesn't. It just gets worse and worse and worse. And then they're like, gloves are off. And here's the crazy part. They're like, gloves are off. We're going to come at you hard now. And you start threatening me with all the things that you've done already. That's the point.
Things that you have failed to prove time and time again.
That is the point.
I am actually currently working on a long form explanation video over the last year, the year of the RICO. I hope to have it done by the end of October, but it's proving to be a lot more. I'm a little anal with receipts and things of that nature. So for anybody that is new here and gets confused, just ask and we will gladly give you a little history lesson on anybody we talk about.
Gloves have been on.
And thank you. I'm not sure if it's just because we're talking about Lauren now and people are starting to move around a little bit, but I see quite a few of you coming around and I'm glad to have you. Join the conversation. I cuss a lot. I'm a simple bitch. I've been told that a few times. And we're assholes. We didn't know what a YouTube community was, so we made an island. So they refer to us as the Islanders. It's not a cult, though. You can swim away at any time.
Offer y'all for a long time.
I think it's time you learn to do some research. Maybe start out by researching the Barbara Streisand effect, because that is exactly what you have done to yourself by continuing to weaponize our court systems on personal vendettas in hopes of silencing people who criticize you that you do not like. The victimhood has gotten old, Brittany. On top of wasting over $8,000 of your subs' money, you have been successfully denied 3 orders of protection in under a year's time. At
Technically 4.
some point in time, you would start to think that maybe you would recognize that you are the problem. Okay, one more. Okay, we'll finish up Lauren's part 2 or part 1 tomorrow because I just can't even take any more of that if I'm being honest. And I'll show you what she did last night. So BJ, the one I'm giving a little history lesson on for anybody that missed last night, she has been covering this Lauren debacle, and she is trying to figure out how to cover it to best suit her and her victimhood, because nobody on the internet has it as bad as her. Yeah. So here you go. Here's last night, just a snippet. I played this last night too, but this is a good description of who she is.
The world. Lauren probably did have to have a talk with her 8-year-old and explain, hey, you know, if you see a dark-haired lady or you see somebody
Kitty cat,
following, you know, when I drop you off at school, or
it is.
you know, I need you to be hyper vigilant. Listen, they look at my kid. I've had to tell my kids, you know,
Right.
what certain people look like. I've had
A
to
little
tell
anal.
my kids, not, you know, we have come up with a whole new way of living
Mm-hmm.
after going through this. When they started describing my kids' backpacks, and
It's interesting to me, though, that she has such strong feelings about Lauren going on Patreon when she has been promoting a Patreon, and was so proud of herself the other day for dropping a post on Patreon. She's got a Patreon too, multiple channels, monetized.
you know, pulling up pictures of all 5 of my kids and shit.
Never happened.
Yeah, you don't know what these
Not one creator that I have seen has pulled up pictures of her children.
people will do. They can pretend to be anything on YouTube, but are y'all going to
Kind of like you did for years.
take your chances? You have to tell you don't know how far people are going to go. You really don't. So you don't want your kids to be caught off guard or unaware of their surroundings. You know, we need to be teaching our kids how to be vigilant anyway. We don't live in a world of sunshine and rainbows. I'm sorry. I would love
She fearmongers the shit out of everything she can.
to have a life where I could shelter my kids and make them think that, you know, this is Mayberry. But unfortunately, that ain't it. And you better start early, preparing your kids for the real world and telling them, hey, not everybody is nice. Not everybody are good people doing things and following the rules. Just because someone's a teacher, a doctor, hell, a preacher, does not mean they're always good people. And your kids need to know that. So, I mean, I don't.
The last person on the face of the planet I would take parenting advice from.
I don't really see. I really don't frown on her having a talk with her kid. I don't. Now, let me be clear. There's a very big difference between preparing your kids and having that conversation.
I'll do one of those
versus scare.
I'll do this little segment, and then I'll do one little short before I shoot you guys off to Burnt Toast, and then we will complete part 2 tomorrow, or the second half of that interview tomorrow, and then we will do our whiteboard this week.
Scaring your kids, or
I'll break the whiteboard.
You know, giving them anxiety when it's not necessary. There's a way to do it. You know what I mean? Like, I would never go to my kids and be like, there's someone stalking us and talking crap about you and calling you names. And
her minor children have to be on the couch behind her to wake her up nightly because she passes out. And we've seen that and witnessed it over and over again. It's truly sad.
You know, I would no, you can't talk to kids like, you can't tell them stuff like that. You gotta handle it a certain way. But you do. I listen. I've never sugarcoated for mine ever. Nope. Since they were old enough to understand the words coming out of my mouth, I've made it clear to them that you don't trust a soul. You don't trust a soul. I don't care who it is. If they say something to you out of the way, touch you in any of your no spaces, or, or even if you feel like this person's too close to you, you trust that instinct and you take your ass off running. I don't care if it's your uncle, your aunt, your sister, your brother. Like, you don't. You can't trust anybody. People's crazy. Tell the kids the truth, but do it on their level. 1,000%. 1,000%.
She doesn't know what that means.
And I promise you, they are way more intelligent than you think they are. Kids are sponges.
Yeah, probably why they shouldn't be behind you when you're talking about the most horrific crimes.
And if there's something going on, they can feel it.
No shit.
They absolutely can feel it. They know when tensions are off, or things
Isn't this rich though?
Aren't right in the house. They know.
Speaking of things not right in the house, here is an example of Loose Lips Larry. Loose Lips Larry is known as Craig. This is her other half. I don't know if it's a better half, worse half. You decide.
I know.
Oh, and this is what she really looks like.
These people are fucking stupid. It's Brenda's birthday, though, y'all.
You cut into my humor.
I'm not. They are.
I got my own kind of little brand of humor.
I know you do. Y'all.
So her other half was going to start doing Bible study and Bible readings on TikTok. He accidentally got busted listening to porn. This is a clip of that.
Disasters and happening everywhere, man. I'm amazed by the volcanoes that are waking up.
He accidentally scrolled off of his Bible verses to his other site. And it was in real time. That is not altered in any way, shape, or form. The quick dart of the eyes was to see if this one was coming up the stairs. Fee, fi, fo, fum. Watch out, because here I come.
Okay. Did you mean to say singer?
He just said he could live forever with a giant cock. He has short man syndrome. Don't know, no short man. Eeny, weeny, teeny, weeny. That's Craig's theme song. So just excuse him. He has a tendency of talking a lot about something that's 8 inches, but he doesn't know the difference between millimeters and inches. Carry on.
Do this 8-inch thing. Do this 8-inch thing.
Meanwhile, most of this is clips from her true crime content when she's talking about other people's worst tragedies and exploiting the shit out of him or them. He comes in the background and says shit like this and likes to threaten people and call them pedophiles too.
Oh, do me a favor, though, and throw some balloons in chat. Throw some hearts in chat. It's Brenda's birthday. She's having a bad day as it is.
It's so fine.
Yeah. Wrong with it.
You like that slapstick comedy.
No, I like your kind of humor too.
They can't stand each other. He said the other day, we barely talk anymore. Oh, and he looks like Lloyd with the finger bang.
Oh, look, there's nothing that you can say that's going to break me or make me worried in any sense of the word. You mugged. I'm not going to get mad. I'm not going to get mad. You support a devout racist. And here you are coming into my channel talking about, Craig didn't say professional white people. You dumb bitch. That's not what he said. He said they don't act like decent white people. They don't. They act like white trash. That's not racist.
Yeah. Stop being Jerry Springer and be a professional fucking white person, okay? My humor is like, if you gotta listen and think about what I'm saying, and if you're smart enough, you'll see that it's funny.
Craig doesn't hate Muslims.
I disagree. I kind of am anti-Islam. Because,
Craig, no, you're not.
Yes, I am. You'll see the sarcasm in it. What happened?
Craig has an obsession with blonde, blue-eyed, pure blood. If you know, you know.
So it's not for everybody, because most people are dumbasses, in my opinion. I was trying to think of this joke. He said, what has 28 teeth and holds back the Hulk? My zipper.
I did not expect that one.
It was funny because I seen this Kermit the Frog,
Mm-hmm.
and he goes on Omegle. You know what Omegle is?
Yeah.
And he has like a cucumber, and every once in a while, like Kermit will pull his cucumber up and whip it around. And he'll say, helicopter, helicopter.
He's almost 40.
Is that narcissistic?
No.
Is that arrogant?
All right, I'm going to try to
He needs a muzzle.
do this. I'm going to try to open up because I hate that hold on.
My cousin want to take you on the day.
Oh my God.
That's a walk down memory lane of who he is. Let's see. I've got one more. Oh, this one's funny. A creator by the name of Cletus said that her looked like she was wearing a wig, so she pulled her own hair to show that her hair is real. There's just so many. There's so many things. All right. And here is one more. The background music is rewritten by Cletus.
Unbelievable is what it is. All right, here. Okay, so. Oh, now that it is so cold. He called Seth a child. You know what? In all caps after the interview and deleted it. But we called it. What? I didn't even see that. What a POS.
Yeah, he called him that. He called him a PEDO as well.
Wow.
That's her guest star, her guest co-host, reality, aka pillow biter.
But I wish people would quit coming for the parents.
This is why when I hear Lauren cry about TikToks, I'm like, ma'am, give me something good to work with and I got you. These are educational.
Mm-mm. I can't with them.
If you are hearing wheezing and breathing, it's Brittany. You can see her bubble light up. She's night-night.
I hope oh, karma's coming.
I'm with you, Mischief.
You're snoring a whole lot. Yeah, bitch, you just got caught. You fell asleep, that breath is hot. That microphone cable is shot. Wake up a little snoozy. Wake up a little snoozy. Well, what will you tell your members? What will you tell your subs? What will you tell your friends? When
Brittany,
they say,
Cassie says check your email.
Yep.
Who?
Cassie.
All right, give me just a second because I got it. I got something. Hold on a second. So this interview was done. Bear with me. I will, Cassie. I promise. Okay. Kimmy, no, I am not wheezing. Not tonight.
I'm with you, Mischief.
Well, what will you tell your members? What will you tell your sons? What will you tell your friends when they say, oh my God, wake up a little snooze?
All right, hold on. I'm going to switch you guys out really quick because this one is triggering. If you need to leave, please understand this one is triggering. This is a year apart. The bottom is current. The top is a year ago, exact same date. And the audio is coming from the clip that has the red arrow. So right now it's on the top from 2024. Did I kill your audio? Hold on. Let me reshare it. Sometimes it does that. It just will say like disconnected your audio or whatever. Hold on. Let's try it again. Tell me if you get sound this time.
Subscribers on the second channel. 100 more subscribers and we will hit the 5,000 mark on the second channel. Incredible. We got a little ways to go on this channel, which is okay. We will get there in time. We are approaching a goal of 18,000 subs on this channel.
Okay.
We can do it. I know we can. But there was something that was said tonight that I want to clarify. Oh, thank you, Laura. I appreciate it.
This is why I hear Lauren bitching about clips and I'm like, oh my God, stop.
It means to you. Means to me. Guys, if you were given a membership, please tell War Eagle thank you. Like I said, my channel has not been doing good on both. They're doing, lots of sabotage going on there. So any support really does help. It's crazy. I can't even believe that I'm in this like this is the reaction, I guess. But yeah, hold on a second.
It's horrific. Dual nods. And she tells everybody that we're crazy, that this isn't reality of what's going on. There's nothing wrong. She's sober.
Maybe 1 minute.
Many of us even say, like, none of us care what it is. go to the fucking doctor. The kids have to wake her up. It's really
Well, okay. Ow. All right. Mm. Mm-mm-mm-mm.
And this
You have free reign to speak over.
None of it was edited.
But Justin, at the same time, and like I said, I
has attempted to weaponize the court system many times to her benefit.
what's going on? That you have time to take a protection order out on a person and go to court and all of that when there's a 15-year-old boy that's missing.
Yeah, that's just kind of a history lesson of who she is.
When somebody tells you something, when someone comes to you and makes an allegation against another person and they tell you that said person is doing something, egregious, you need to do your due diligence by actually looking that up, looking into those claims, and
she likes to give TED Talks at times too,
vetting those claims to make sure that they're really happening, because none of us are doing that. Somebody who subs to me, since when do I become accountable for something that a subscriber of mine does?
She sent C&Ds demanding that creators tell their subs what to do.
I'm not responsible for anybody but myself.
Uh-huh. Anyways, the history is thick with that one. It's a lot, but there's a little bit of a throwback to some of it for anybody that is new here or doesn't know who some of these people that we talk about are. She is basically, at this point, with what Lauren has shown us, they're kind of almost very similar. One just has money and connections, and the other one doesn't. I think that's the best way of explaining them. And it's going to get interesting too, because the other one, BJ, is covering this Lauren situation and trying to posture herself to her best benefit because she is the ultimate victim. She's had it worse on YouTube than anybody else. It's fucking wild. Thank you all for being here with me today. I appreciate you guys. I will see you guys tomorrow sometime. I am now shipping you over to Burnt Toast, and it'll be an epic Monday stream, I'm sure. If you don't know who Burnt Toast is and you like this kind of content, the shit shows, hers is a dumpster fire. She's incredible. She does incredibly well laid out timelines. She will wrap it all up with a bow, and she is covering Lauren. So I look forward to seeing you guys over there. Thank you again for everybody that stopped by today. Appreciate you. See you tomorrow.